Good morning. The family of Donegal man Michael Leonard is calling on the Irish government to seek answers from British authorities about his controversial death in 1973. New finds obtained from the Military Records Office in London have revealed that the 24-year-old cattle dealer was murdered by the RUC. The family from Petticoat are seeking a public inquiry and a criminal investigation into the killing. Researcher on the Troubles, Kieran McGart, says the finds he has uncovered allege the RUC lied about the killing.
This is an Irish citizen who was an unarmed civilian who was murdered by the RUC, and then the RUC deliberately lied not only to the family and to the media, but also lied at the original inquest in 1973. So they told lies.
Some students who have the points for third-level subjects may not be able to take up their studies because of the accommodation crisis. That's the bleak warning from the Union of Students, which says the accommodation crisis is preventing some individuals from undertaking degree courses. Ross Boyd is Vice President of Campaigns with the Union of Students in Ireland. He says the USI is calling on the government to cancel student contribution fees in order to reduce the financial burden on families.
The student contribution charge is the highest in the European Union and very much one of the main costs that can price people out of higher education. So very much calling on the Minister for Higher Education and the government to prioritise those costs as well as citizenship reform and very much specific targeted financial support for students who are the ones especially who may want to come to college but who may have the points but also then not be able to actually go in because of all these financial barriers.
1 in every 16 cars taking the NCT are unsafe to drive on a public road. Over 55,000 cars have been declared illegal by testers this year after undergoing a full examination. Derrybeg has the lowest pass rate in the country at 39%, while Letterkenny also has one of the lowest at 45.6%. NCT centres in Dublin, Limerick and Laois have the highest pass rates. Motoring journalist Dave Humphreys says cars are only categorised as illegal to drive if they've a serious problem.
One of the biggest causes for a car having that type of failure is that it's got bald tyres. So the tyres are well below the minimum tread depth. So things like that need to have, you need to address these things before the test. But it's also worth bearing in mind that when your car fails in that case, you are not legally meant to drive that car away. That car is meant to be towed away. It's not fit to be on the road with other road users.
Weather now, sunny spells and scattered showers today with highest temperatures of 16 to 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Dad!
Yeah?
Did you remember my boots?
Yep.
And the glasses you said this ref needs?
Did I say that?
You did, yeah.
Oh.
What about extra batteries?
Batteries?
For the car. Because you're always worried about it running out.
Don't worry, buddy. If our battery runs out, the man from Aviva will come and help us.
Cool.
Aviva car insurance comes with breakdown rescue as standard. So if your battery runs out, we'll charge your car at the roadside, tow you to the nearest charging point, or bring you home, whichever is closer. For worry-free electric vehicle cover, it takes Aviva.
Acceptance criteria, T's and C's apply. Minimum premium of €310. Car insurance is underwritten by Aviva Insurance Ireland DAC. Aviva Direct Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The 9 till Noon Show in association with the Northwest Truck Fest this Saturday and Sunday at Milford Mart with live music, family fun, a truck convoy and much more.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. 3 minutes, just turned 4 minutes past 9 this Tuesday, the 23rd of August, and you're very welcome along to another edition of the 9 till Noon Show. We're back at base today. A big thanks to everyone who looked after us at beautiful Mallinhead yesterday. It was good to be up there. And also, we were out in Downings on Friday morning as well. So thanks to everyone who hosted us there as well. But we are back at base. The lines are open for you. Business as usual, of course. WhatsApps and text to 086 60 25,000. 086 60 25,000. If you want to give us a call, the lines are open for you right now. Caroline taking your calls on 074 91 25,000. Your emails come into us via comments at highlandradio.com. We do stream the show across our website and social medias. If you want to watch the show and engage with us there, website highlandradio.com, or on YouTube it's Highland Radio Ireland, and hopefully you know our Facebook pages. Just search Highland Radio. And engage with us there. Tell us where you're from, where you're from. We don't want your private information, but tell us where you're watching from and all that kind of stuff, and get involved in the conversation. Right, let's start with a look at the newspapers this morning. Let's kick off with the Derry Journal. I'm lost for words. 15,000 visit the Field of Hope. Ina Shones, Geraldine Mullen, has said she's lost for words at the response to her poignant Field of Hope over the weekend, as 15,000 people walked its paths. And I saw some of the images of the people queuing, and everyone who I seem to be connected with on social media was there. It was amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's almost like the Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. It just resonated, and I think that's down to the high regard Geraldine's held in, the high regard her husband and family are held in, and it was just the most amazing response and so fitting. And I drove past. I didn't get up on the days it was open, unfortunately. I just couldn't make it, but I did happen to drive past it yesterday and pulled over, and it looked lovely and amazing. And I can see why so many people went to it, and I can imagine many people were moved by it. The Sunflower Field was developed in conjunction with Catherine Carlin and the community in tribute to Geraldine's husband John, son Tomas and daughter Emilia, to mark the second anniversary of their untimely deaths on August 20th, 2020. Speaking to the Journal, Geraldine said that not in her wildest dreams could she have imagined the response, with 1,500 visiting on Friday, 3,500 on Saturday, and 10,000 people on Sunday. 15,000 people. That's remarkable. I mean, if you were to work that out, I mean, that's 10% of the Donegal population. Put it like that. Now, I'm sure people came from far and wide, but that's what we're talking about. The equivalent of just shy of 10% of Donegal's population went to that on the weekend. Isn't that amazing? All right, let's switch to the Nationals now. The Irish Independent. What do you think hospitals were doing whilst we were dealing with the worst of COVID-19? Well, they were engaging debt collectors to go out and chase you down for money. They spent €1 million on debt collectors, and I'll read the story here. HSE-run hospitals spent nearly €1 million hiring debt collectors to chase patients for outstanding debts during the two toughest years of the COVID-19 pandemic, new figures show. As the country battled the pandemic in 2020 and 2021, with hospitals suffering severe overcrowding and patients enduring often grueling waits on trolleys, the hospitals enlisted debt collectors to pursue unpaid inpatient charges and the €100 emergency department fee. Figures show the hospitals shelled out $568,000 in 2020 and another $362,000 up to October of last year. Cork University Hospital spent the highest amount, and let's see if there's a figure for us locally here. I will dig that figure out. I didn't realise they had a breakdown here. We'll see if Letterkenny University Hospital is mentioned. I don't see it as I run through the figures here, but we'll see if it was if it is contained in those figures. On to the Irish Times now. An opposition call on Troy to make a statement. Opposition parties are calling on the Fianna Fáil Minister of State, Robert Troy, to make a statement in the Dáil outlining the full extent of his business and property dealings when politicians return from their summer recess. Mr. Troy is coming under increasing pressure to provide further details around the value of rental contracts he has with Westmeath County Council. Now, it is slightly concerning, I think, for Irish politics here because, he has had to correct the record quite significantly, and we do know he's also made representations in the Dáil which could arguably benefit him. And also, not saying that was his motivation, but he could also have benefited. And then we have Micheál Martin and Leo Varadkar rolling in behind him to say, OK, he's corrected the record, there's nothing to see here. I'm not sure how good that is for Irish politics and people's faith in it. I don't know what you think. Could it have been a simple mistake? And then, even if it were a simple mistake, I just think this, circling the wagons where we have both Leo Varadkar and Micheál Martin saying, move on now, everything's okay. Well, it's not really up to them to decide that. It's up to us, the people of Ireland, to decide that, I think, to be honest with you. I don't think we can be told any longer that everything's sorted now. He said sorry, he's fixed this, that and done, move on. It doesn't work like that anymore. The Longford West Meath TD has been at the centre of controversy for failing to declare details of his property interests, and last week made a wide-ranging amendment to declarations made for various years in the Oireachtas Register of Members' Interests. He also apologised for errors in his returns. While the Taoiseach Micheál Martin again defended Mr Troy yesterday, opposition parties said more information and a full statement in the Dáil were needed. Now, there is a declaration of interest. Anyone, all of us have access to that, and it can be important because it maybe helps us understand our politicians' views on certain things, their understanding of certain things, their interest in certain things, and that record, if it's not accurate, well, then the whole thing is a load of nonsense. And then we have, as I say, two leaders of the government rolling in to defend him. I don't really think it's up to them to tell us, as I said, that there's nothing to see here anymore. Well, let's go to the Irish Daily Mail now. And loan applications to credit unions are soaring as cash-strapped parents struggle to cover back-to-school expenses amid the cost of living crisis. The number of people seeking loans has spiked, and the value of loans being sought has trebled in some cases as families deal with inflation not seen since the 1980s. The Irish League of Credit Unions yesterday told the Irish Daily Mail there's been a marked increase in the number of loan applications for back-to-school costs in recent weeks, and it is fair to say that they are advertising that as well, and they're advertising this specifically for parents. So there is obviously going to be people that are very much in need of it, but obviously there is also a successful marketing strategy going on here. Just because someone takes out a loan, it doesn't necessarily mean they can't afford it. So parents could be making decisions for different reasons as well. To cover it in the round there. Well, this news comes as St Vincent de Paul reported a 20% increase in the number of people seeking help so far this year, with over 110,000 calls from households struggling under inflation at nearly 10%. Now, we know from this programme that lots of people are still waiting for their back-to-school allowance. It's possible that they're having to almost get bridging loans from the credit union or from the likes of support from the likes of St Vincent de Paul because they still haven't received their back-to-school allowance. And we all know the bills that are coming in right now. And we've talked about that quite extensively. I'm relatively lucky, actually, because the school that my son attends, they have the exchange programme, the book rental scheme. It's still not insignificant, but I looked at the price list for the books, and I really, really, really wouldn't like to have to buy these books. The book rental scheme covers a big chunk of it, and thankfully we're able to get away a bit handy on the uniform as well. But looking down through the price lists, looking down through the price of books, looking at schools that are insisting that school children also wear a jacket on top of a jumper, on top of a shirt, and then the trousers and black shoes as well. I mean, come on. That on top of if you had to buy the books, of course you're going to be racing to try and borrow some money. If you're affected by that or have something to say, 08660 25,000. Also in all the papers today, there is coverage of the Rose of Tralee. What do you think of the competition? How did you think our Donegal Rose fared? The one thing I'll say about it is I watched some of it. It was a bit cringe, right? And I'm not going down this road of people quoting Father Ted and all that. It's all a bit lazy. I think the format needs changing. I really, really do. I think there's merit to it. My views were changed on this with my involvement with the Mary from Dunlow Festival, my small involvement. I think they do it differently, and I think it's more modern, if that makes sense. I just think the way I was watching some of it last night, and I don't know if maybe I was just crabbing because I didn't get much sleep, but the format needs a shake-up. It really, really does. But there's plenty of coverage in the papers today of it, and I wonder what you all thought of it. 08660 25,000. As I say, it's really, I would take guidance from those entering these competitions as to whether there's a future for them. But I think that particular competition, they need to look at the format, because it was like watching reeling in the years. On to the Irish Daily Star now. Cabinet asleep at the wheel on energy. The government has been accused of being asleep at the wheel after a row with the energy regulator over the looming winter energy crisis. It comes as Taoiseach Micheál Martin said the regulator should have had an earlier warning system over what is coming down the line. The Commission for the Regulation of Utilities last week announced it wants electricity companies to charge more for power during the rush hours of 5 to 7 p.m. in the evenings. Now, I've been hearing this for 2 or 3 days, but what I still don't understand, right? If the Commission, and I hope one of you can explain this to me, if the Commission for Regulation of Utilities starts charging us more for electricity between 5 and 7 p.m., right? Because that's what they would do. How can we avoid that? Unless, I don't know, maybe if you've got a smart meter you can. I don't know how many of us have smart meters. But how can you save electricity between 5 and 7 to avoid higher rates of electricity? Because most of the electricity is not done through, even if you send meter readings, how's it going to register the fact that you didn't use this more expensive power between 5 and 7 if this were to happen? Is it just the companies that they're going to charge this to? Because if they do, that just gets knocked on to us. So if anyone out there can explain how charging more for electricity between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m., how we avoid paying more. Okay, because we could all say, right, no showers between 5 and 7, no washing machines, no dryers, switch off some of the lights, TVs, all that kind of stuff. But how in any way can we avoid increased electricity charges by doing that? Unless I'm missing something, I don't understand. I think we're just going to end up getting paid. We're going to end up paying more, unless you have a smart meter and you can avoid it that way. I don't know. But it's a blunt instrument, the way electricity is priced. How often do you come out and read your meter? They're certainly not going to read it daily to see how much you save between 5 and 7 on a particular day. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I've seen it on newspapers. I've watched clips on TV. I've seen it reported on the radio. And no one has asked, how does charging us, a consumer, more for electricity between 5 and 7, how do we avoid that? How does that discourage us from using less electricity? As I say, if someone can explain that to me, I would really appreciate it. I can't understand why a journalist hasn't asked it yet, unless I am missing something. Let's go to the Irish Sun here. Childcare workers in Ireland are struggling to pay their bills, with 40% seeking employment in other fields. Experts say the exodus because of poor pay is a threat to the industry's future. The grim forecast follows a survey carried out by SIPTU earlier this month, which included 1,977 managers and staff. Early years teacher Deborah Reynolds said many services are struggling to hire and hold on to staff because of the low pay. Most early years educators earn below the living wage of $12.90 per hour, and they simply cannot afford to stay in their profession. And there are multiple jobs available at the moment that pay more than that. But then there is some talk of an agreement coming down the line of pay increases that could see their wages go up. But it is a sector that needs full attention and a full overhaul. Okay, this is for all you dog lovers out there. I'm sure you know this already. The Irish Daily Mirror tells us that dogs cry tears of joy when their owners come home. A poodle-loving professor found dogs had more tears in their eyes than normal when they reunited with their owners. Some of them have more tears on the floor too when they get excited. But their base level of tears did not change when they met strangers, and their tears do not fall like humans do. Professor Takefumi Kawishi began looking into the issue when his pet poodle had puppies, and he noticed that while it nursed the pups, it looked tearful. Right, so apparently when you come home, it brings tears to your dog's eyes. Is that something you've noticed? 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. We'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show very shortly.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. The 9 till noon show in association with the Northwest Truck Fest this Saturday and Sunday at Milford Mart, with live music, family fun, a truck convoy and much more.
Top up your phone with unlimited data for just €15 at Tesco Mobile, which is the same price as 60 Ultra Fish Oil capsules. I thought that comparison would be helpful, but now I realise it's not. Sorry about that. But I'm not sorry about the deal. Unlimited data for just €15 is helpful. This is Supermarket Mobile. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
T's and C's apply. Unlimited data is subject to a fair usage policy. See tescomobile.ie/terms/prepaid data plus for plan details and service information.
It's the Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off on all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles and Wood Flooring. Stores nationwide. Sale now on.
Inishowen Credit Union has recently launched Cultivate, an agricultural loan at only 6.55%, APR 6.75%. Call any of their 4 offices for more information or to make an appointment. Inishowen Credit Union, Buncrana, Carndonagh, Moville and Muff, supporting local farmers. Inishowen Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Looking for your perfect, exquisite, award-winning wedding venue? The Red Door Country House Fawn is situated on the main road to Buncrana, just a short drive from Letterkenny and the city of Derry. We are hosting a wedding showcase in conjunction with Perfect Bliss Wedding Events on Saturday, August 27th from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. and would like to invite you to visit on this date. Wedding Showcase, August 27th at the Red Door Country House Fawn, Buncrana.
Now we welcome onto the programme founder of AutismDad.ie, John Joe McGinley. John Joe, good to have you back on the programme. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, good morning, Greg, and thank you so much for having me on, and good morning to all your listeners.
No, it's important to raise awareness of these issues. Okay, you are highlighting the fact that webinars are replacing actual care for special needs children in Donegal. So tell us in a real-world example here what's happening, John Joe.
Well, as you know, Greg, I'm on AutismDad.ie, and a lot of parents get in touch with me. I myself have 2 children, 2 boys that are on the autism spectrum, James and Joseph. And unfortunately, they have been receiving virtually no support over the last 2 years. You know, the Irish Examiner yesterday highlighted the HSE's own figures that 60,000 children in Ireland are waiting for appointments, and 16,000 are waiting for over a year. Now, one of my boys, Joseph, has been waiting for nearly 2 years, so I dread to think what the actual figures are. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Do you think anyone's being seen by these services? I mean, or do they simply not exist? And these, you know, it's a perpetual wait that will never be fulfilled. I mean, do we know as a fact? I know that probably must be how it feels, but you know, like, are there active services running at the moment?
I think, yes, it's actually quite fortuitous that the Irish Examiner yesterday ran with a story that the services have now been amalgamated into the Child Disability Network teams. The problem with them is, whilst they have their management structures in place, they do not have what we would call the therapists in place. The vast majority of them, probably up to about 70% of them, are not fully staffed. They are lacking physiotherapists, they're lacking occupational therapists, they are lacking dietitian experts, and most worryingly for a lot of children, and especially parents that are looking for a diagnosis, they lack the psychologists. In fact, in the northwest Donegal area, that there is currently no psychologist because the excellent professional who was there is on maternity leave, and it's not been filled. Mm-hmm. Again, that's down to a recruitment crisis, and I think that's the key issue, that they're trying to cover up the recruitment crisis by focusing the support back onto parents, and that is starting with webinar support. Now, I'm not against webinar support if you're starting in the whole process, where you're trying to get an overview as a new parent, where you're unsure of the needs that your child actually needs. But every child deserves, and every child is entitled to, a personal development plan looking at their own individual requirements. Is it about occupational therapy? Is it about physiotherapy? For a lot of children on the autism spectrum, it's about speech and language, to allow them to have at least the communication skills to help develop the social skills that's lacking because of the autism diagnosis. The key issue is that these professionals are not available, so a webinar is no use to parents who already know what their children requires. A webinar is no use to parents if they're trying to put the support back onto the shoulders of the parents.
But in relation to the lack of the staff that you talk of, I mean, obviously if someone's on maternity leave or sick leave, you know, it seems to be a historic problem with the HSE that there's no forward planning to try and cover these gaps. But when we talk about the lack of staff, I mean, do we know other jobs advertised? are there any unions saying the reason we can't fill these jobs is because of the rates of pay or what have you? You know, like we need to drill down, don't we? Maybe not you and I, John, but we need to drill down to what is the issue here. Where are the staff shortages? Is it countrywide? Is it unique to the Northwest? Is it the lack of available personnel? Are they going elsewhere? You know, I think until we start getting some answers to those questions, John Joe, you know, the situation is just going to continue as is.
I think that it's an excellent point, and I think a lot of the issues are, it's a myriad of reasons. You know, there's currently at the moment what's reported to be a leaked memo from TUSLA doing the rounds amongst all special needs parents, where somebody is actually pointing out that the conditions are so bad in the services that the vast majority of trained professionals are thinking about leaving, and a sizable majority people, excellent professionals, excellent caring professionals that we've trained in this country are up in sticks and taking their specialities and their training off to other countries.
Yeah, we spoke to someone who worked within comms in Donegal that said that exactly, that you know, it's a very difficult space to work in and people are leaving for the exact reasons that you've outlined, and that was someone who was working within the system itself.
And again, this has to go back right to the heart of the HSE and government. There has to be a will to sort this out. The current will has been to set up these child disability network teams. You know, management structures in place, but no foot soldiers in place. And now even the minister is saying that it's not fit for purpose, and they're going to then transfer back the services into the schools. And they're going to start a recruitment campaign. They're actually saying that they want to have a high proportion of people recruited by September. The last time I looked at the calendar, it was the 23rd of August. September is well upon us. What we've got is a lack of forward planning, a lack of vision to actually provide the services that our children actually need. Parents have to stop being silent. We need to rally together now and demand action. We need to demand that the HSE and the ministers responsible actually put not only a plan in place, but the structures and the people in place to deliver the services that our children not only need and require, but are entitled to and deserve to receive in this society.
But we can't rely on people like you. Sorry, John Joe. We can't rely on people like you constantly to raise this issue. I mean, this is serious. This is our children here. Like, there are basic questions that need answers. And one of our elected TDs needs to take this as their hobby horse or something and continuously ask questions. You know, we can talk about aspirational things till we're blue in the face, or where, you know, what we need now is someone in the Dáil to ask these questions as it relates to Donegal. You know, we need this to be a motion at Donegal County Council level. This is what we have politicians for. They're there to represent us, and they're there to represent the parents, and they're there to represent the children. And this is the type of issue that people should be elected to try and resolve. What I'm not saying they haven't mentioned this, John Joe, and you can correct me where the situation is, but a few questions like, what is the situation as it relates to the funding in Donegal for these services? How much funding is provided on an annual basis? How many positions are vacant? What is the level of recruitment? How many staff have been lost? You know, have they been surveyed as to why they left? Where have they gone? Is this unique to Donegal? Is it unique to other parts? You know, these are the types of questions that you get paid over €100,000 a year to go into the Dáil to ask. And I don't care what party you're with, or if you're with no party. But this is our life, and these are our children, and this is what's important.
Exactly. And part of me feels that I don't want to come onto the radio moaning. I have to have an action plan myself. You're 100% right. It is the politicians need to take it forward. But what I've done is I've discussed with a few other parents. It's a small step, but it's a step we can take forward. I'm going to start now through autismdad.ie, through the Facebook and the Twitter account that we've got. I'm going to start a petition to get as many signatures as possible to present to each of the elected politicians in Donegal, our TDs, to ask them, to urge them to put this at the heart of the discussions as we take forward. We've got a budget that's coming up in a few weeks' time. Will special needs, will carers be at the heart of that budget? I don't think so. But they should be, because carers are saving the state a fortune. But we can't be silent any longer. We have to have a voice, and we have to have our elected politicians to take our voice forward into the Dáil to say that our children deserve support. We need to have trained professionals on the ground. We have to move away from a contracted out system of support where we actually have physical support for our children, real occupational therapy, real speech and language, real dietitians, and more importantly, we have to improve the mental health services for our children. There are really great professionals in CAMHS, but the roadmap to support in CAMHS is long, winding and frustrated, and so many children are waiting not only months but years to actually get into the system.
Yeah.
And as that delay happens, their condition deteriorates so much that by the time they actually get limited support, it's too late. The damage has been done.
Two groups
and we cannot allow that to happen to our children.
Yeah, there's more, but there's two groups of people listening to this conversation today. Finally, John Joe, there are those who are affected by this, and you're preaching to the converted. They know, and I know I know people that are, and I know the distress it causes to them because they want what's best for their children, and they're seeing their children go backwards. Or staying where they are, and that hurts you on a level that it's very hard to put into words, and it's frustrating, and it causes anger, and it causes upset, and it's difficult. And then there are those who maybe aren't affected by this at all and don't really maybe get precisely what we're talking about, because in matters of health, we kind of have to be personally affected before it really gets us. That's just the way it is. So, can you describe to me, either using your own situation, John Joe, or just a typical example? Not that there is a typical example, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. What does this actually mean? These gaps in this service, these webinars replacing actual care for special needs children, these gaps in services in CAMHS, Donegal, the fact that you're told that it will be months or years before your child is so. How does that affect a family in real life? What is happening to the family and the child?
I will tell you bluntly, Greg, and I'll tell people bluntly that the delays in children being seen by CAMHS are leading to children having suicidal thoughts, are leading to children taking their lives. What we have is no pathway for support. Even out of hours, is the support for a child that's distressed, has mental health issues as a result of autism? Is it about going to NowDoc and a crowded accident and emergency where you sit there where people who are a whole range of illnesses that are suffering, but you have a child that has social anxiety, that has increased awareness, and their symptoms become harder and harder and increase and increase? Is a packed accident emergency a place where you want to take a child, or even if it's not on the autism spectrum, that is suffering from mental health issues? We have no pathway for support for our children into the child mental health system. And even when we do get there, it's 1 or 2 appointments, and then it's months or even years before the children are seen. And it's heartbreaking as a parent to hear that your child has suicidal thoughts because they're not getting the trained support from a psychologist, the trained support as a citizen of this country they are entitled to and deserve.
Right.
That's the real impact.
And they're actually constitutionally entitled to that. It's not aspirational, it's not moral, it's constitutional. Just to explain what a webinar is, and a listener says they're of a generation where they're not familiar with the term, which is a very good point, and I'm glad they texted in so we can explain that. A webinar is effectively, will you describe what a webinar in this context is, John Joe, so I don't actually give the wrong answer to the listener?
Well, what you've got is it's basically an online presentation, and in most cases it's not just to one set of parents, it's to a whole group of parents. And again, that is to then identify the needs of the children. But the needs of the children need to be identified by trained professionals face to face. And again, this is great for parents that are perhaps starting out on the support journey. The vast majority of parents I speak to have children at 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. We know the support they need. We know the support they've been missing out on for years.
Yep. So effectively, a
the reasons why
webinar
they're
is
backtracking.
either a live or recorded healthcare expert giving advice and guidance to parents. The likes of John Joe here is that far down on his journey. He knows all of that, but if it is, there is some benefit to it as a foundation laying exercise maybe for parents. Okay, Janice is with us. Janice, good morning to you.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Sorry, Janice. I beg your pardon. I'm okay, Janice.
You're all right.
Your starting line in your text is health services are a nightmare. Talk to me as much as you're comfortable with about that.
Well, I've actually spoke to you before regarding my daughter. You know, she was diagnosed with scoliosis last March.
Yeah.
It's coming from a faulty gene called ASH1L. At that time last March, she was referred to the early intervention team, which we actually got on board by relatively quick. She was accepted onto there in July. They decided that she needed occupational therapist, COT, the speech therapy, physio and stuff. Now, the physio's been fairly good. The speech therapy, she didn't actually get an appointment until the end of January this year, so, you know, almost 12 months later. She had 3 appointments with her, 1 week after the other, and then we were told, look, we're going to leave you to your own devices and see how she gets on. And we had to actually contact them to look for another appointment, which we do have now on Thursday, but, you know, they're telling us to do lab sign language with her. We haven't been guided as to where to go if we can do these courses. There's just no consistency at all. You know, and my child is 3.5 and she's non-verbal, she's not talking yet. How do they justify that? Look, we'll leave you now for a few months and let you get on your own devices and see how she gets on.
Yeah, but they don't justify it, do they? They just leave you there.
They just leave you there. Like, you know, she gave us a few basic signs. You know, my daughter's actually starting to make her own now, which is not going to make any sense to anybody else, you know, other than us as her parents. But it's just, it's very hard. You know, OT, she had 2 appointments with, 2 different OTs because, you know, they were changing jobs or changing areas. She actually hasn't had any OT. Her mobility is not great, you know, and we just don't have any plans put in place in the house or anywhere else for her, like, because the services just aren't there.
And how does that impact you and the family and your daughter?
It's tough, Greg, to be honest with you. You know, it's hard to explain. I'm one of these people that, you know, I find it hard to get started, and once I start, I don't stop.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, we have a page on Facebook, Amelia's Scoliosis Story, you know, all the details are there. Within reason, I suppose. But no, it's very hard, even in the house, you know, like, she can't go up and downstairs. We're trying to fight to get, you know, a grant so we can get a wet room and a bedroom for her downstairs, because she's also on a body cast for scoliosis as well.
Yeah.
And it's more beneficial to her to have the water running through the cast rather than being submerged in a bath.
Mm-hmm.
And a comment that was actually made to us by a healthcare professional was, you're just looking for an extra room in your house.
Well, I mean, like, that's offensive.
It is.
Like, it's offensive. I mean, with everything that you're going through, what you're trying to do, it is clear that you're just trying to do what's best for your daughter. And for someone then to knock you down and suggest that really you're just looking for an extra room in your house, I mean, that person should be reported, and they should be disciplined as well for that comment.
Yeah, it was disgusting, Greg, to be honest with you. As you say, you know, we're just trying to benefit her. Even if it was only a box room, enough for a bed, you know, we're not looking for a mansion. Enough for a bed and a wet room, so we are enabled to make her life that wee bit easier and give her what she rightly deserves, you know?
Yeah. Okay. And so what are you waiting on, and what timeline have you been given? I mean, it's the most basic stuff seemingly, but so who are you waiting to see, Janice, and what time frame have you been given?
Well, we haven't been given any time frame, to be honest with you. We're still waiting on the occupational therapist. I did contact them a few weeks ago to say to them that there was no consistency and stuff, you know, and what's happening, and I was advised that it would be brought up in a meeting, their team meeting, and they would contact me back. I wasn't given any time frame. I haven't had no contact back. You know, Amelia hasn't had any physio for a few months, but the physio's been fairly good. You know, I did bring up my concerns to her about the consistency and stuff, and it did become more regular. But because we attend so many appointments, sometimes they clash and we have to cancel. But no, there's been no time frames at all.
And are you made feel like a nuisance? I mean, I've spoken to a number of parents now at this stage who they were kind of effectively said, you know, yours is not the only child that needs these services. You know, that we're almost guilted into not trying to pursue the best for their children.
Yeah, well, the comment has been made that you know, we do have a waiting list. There's a lot of children on the list. And I understand that, but do you know what? Go and employ a few more people. Make these services more easily accessible for the kids that need it. You know, but yeah, you do. You feel like you're torturing them. It's just a constant battle. You feel like you're constantly fighting to try and get what you need for your child that they should be entitled to. It should be basic entitlement.
All right, Janice, listen, best wishes to everyone. Thanks for giving us an insight. It's really important that as many of us can understand this as possible. Thanks, Janice. I appreciate it, and best wishes to everyone, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. I mean, you know, and you can hear the strength in Janice's voice there, John Joe. You know, not everyone maybe has the strength that she has, or maybe she doesn't, and it just sounds like that, if you know what I mean. But everyone's going to be dealing with this crisis in their family in different ways. It's going to be great upset, great anger, disillusionment. You know, there's a whole range there, John Joe.
I know so many parents that have children with special needs, and a lot of them have the strength. And we have to have that strength, because the only people that are going to be fighting for our children are ourselves. And we have to be their voice. They don't have a voice. And you brought up that fantastic point. What's happened here is we have great professionals, and they try to give as much support as possible, but there's not enough of them on the ground. There is a recruitment crisis. That recruitment crisis has a knock-on effect, which means you get one or two appointments, and then they try and put it onto the parents. Well, here's a few therapies you can try yourself. And whilst over time, you do learn things, but we're not trained professionals. I've tried like a broken record, but the key issue is there are not enough occupational therapists, dietitians, physiotherapists, and more importantly, psychologists on the ground, especially in Donegal, but throughout Ireland. That's the key issue. The HSE and the Minister needs to start ensuring that we have a service that's fit for purpose, and a service that these trained professionals want to stay in and be part of. And once we get to that situation, the parents will do everything they possibly can to work with these trained professionals.
And just
please give us the support.
Just one other question: How many? Well, we can't answer. There's no answer to that question. Are many younger people, dependent on their age, being prescribed drugs in the absence of these types of services? And if so, what type of drugs and to what end?
I can only go with my own personal experiences. Obviously, we've had the cases down in Kerry, and my own personal experience is I had a dialogue, and right at the start of the dialogue, the prescription of medication came right at the start, and I wasn't keen on that because I wanted to pursue other avenues. Right now, we have to be fair and say that a medical prescription is sometimes highly relevant for the individual, and so that helps. But I'm a great believer, and I have my own personal viewpoint in that sometimes medication can be a replacement for the other services because they're not there. I would much prefer to see a defined pathway of support for children before they come to a medical route.
My concern is if young people are medicated too soon before there's proper assessment, you then end up assessing them medicated. And if you're doing that, well, then how can you make sure that the services or the supports are properly attuned to that child to get them off the medication? Ideally, if that's relevant, it's hugely.
That's an excellent point. Yeah. An excellent point, but I want to put my children into the hands of trained professionals. We have to give them the trust. But I want to make sure that there are trained professionals there from a psychologist perspective, speech and language, OT, and physiotherapy. These are trained professionals. They've went for years to college university for this. I just want them to be on the ground. I don't want to have it put onto the hands and the shoulders of the parents. We're not the trained professionals. Our children deserve the right to have this service.
John Joe,
up
thanks.
To the politicians and the HSE.
Well, but someone actually is going to have to take this. You know, what is it going to take? Someone has to take this as their issue.
And a little step forward.
And you are, by the way, I'm on about to support the likes of you, John Joe. You're doing everything you can, but there's almost a glass ceiling in what you can do. You know, we have people who are in positions of influence that need to get answers to these questions, that need to shame the HSE, because that's what it seems to take, to embarrass them into action. Or at least to explain precisely what's going on here, so that there's an understanding, so parents like you can maybe not have to spend so much time campaigning. John Joe, thanks very much for your time. I appreciate it greatly.
No, thank you, Greg. I really appreciate it, and have a great day.
You too.
Thanks,
and best wishes to everyone. I find it exacerbating, and that's only listening to what other people are going through. John Joe McKinley, their founder of autismdad.ie. You can check out their website and socials if you want more on that. And Janice as well. Thanks to Janice for her contribution.
The 9 till noon show, brought to you by the Northwest Truck Fest, taking place this Saturday and Sunday in the grounds of Milford Mart, with proceeds to Ellie's Wish to Walk and MS Ireland Donegal branch.
The big bucks are back. 4 Fridays.
4 winners.
Plus 1 lucky jackpot.
Oh, that didn't work.
€2,500 every Friday.
And on the 4th Friday,
Someone also wins
10,000 cash money.
Go to highlandradio.com and get your €10 ticket. It's a whole new meaning to cash flow. Highland Radio.
That's the way you do it. Get your money for nothing.
Summer's just got better.
Nutrius Weanling Crunch offer, directly supported by the Arrivo Fodder Support Fund, is now available at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Weanling Crunch ATP, get 1 free. The Nutrius Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
At Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
With selected models readily available, it's time to treat yourself to a brand new car. Our Nissan lineup is unbeatable in their class. Call today or visit us in Letterkenny or Malin, or visit imotors.ie.
The Northwest Truck Fest returns to Milford Mart this Saturday and Sunday. There's live music from Norman Borland in the Marquee on Saturday night at 9:30. And on Sunday afternoon, Farmer Dan and Anne Biddy. This ad is sponsored by JD Recovery Services, Kilmacrennan and Donegal Town.
Coming up after 10 o'clock, we've Tuesday's Community Garda information items, so stay tuned for that, for the latest appeals and information from An Garda Síochána. Via email, if government employees, teachers, etc. get pay rises in the face of soaring inflation, that simply feeds the inflation, making things worse for non-government employed taxpayers. I'm not quite convinced that pay rises are the root cause of inflation. I think inflation is going to hit, high single-digit figures here, and it's also, say, for instance, across in Britain, our nearest neighbours, it's going to hit 18%, and that's without pay rises. I don't buy into this. Notion that pay increases drive inflation. Personally speaking, but I'm not an expert, of course. But with inflation's where it's at now, with no pay rises. Okay, rightio. People around the Northwest, Tyrone specifically, are being asked to keep a lookout for a missing wallaby. Richard Beattie of Glen Park joins us on the programme now. Richard, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, yes.
Right, so for those, give us a description. What is a wallaby?
A wallaby is like a smaller version of a kangaroo. It's the same character, a long tail, it hops along with two back legs, and it's the same characteristics of a small kangaroo.
All right. Now, when did it go missing and from where?
We are here based in Glen Park Estate, just outside the Gorton Glen Forest Park, and we have an open farm here on site. And on Sunday evening, we had wallabies on the Glen Park Estate, and then we have two new ones to come in to join in with them here, which were delivered on Sunday evening about 3:00. The fella who delivered us and put them in, to get them put into the enclosure. It's in about a quarter of an acre enclosure, and so there's plenty of room to move around. But this one, the wallaby which is missing, seemed to jump the fence, and a neighbour person coming down the road came in and said seen the wallaby on the main, almost Gorton Road, and we're on the search for it since that.
So it's bolted. In terms of its survival in our wild, that's not an issue, is it?
It's not an issue because they eat grass, eat leaves, and they forage through here. There's plenty of cover, if you understand, so there's not going to be starved. It's not like it's natural habitat was his round, but it's just the problem is where we are situated here, there is thousands of acres of woodland. And if I went towards the Gorton Glen Forest, the amount of acres there through trees is very hard to hang. And I just went the Oma direction, and it's just the amount of grassland and fields right round. And if you go into the field near the wallabies, what to do is they sit down and they actually hide. You understand, there's the hideaway into the grass, so they're it's very, very hard to find.
Yeah. But we would prefer it in the safe confines of a forest or green fields, I suppose, rather than near roads.
That's right, yes. No, rather it's in the fields, but we just ask everybody to keep an eye out in the area, and if they see anything, to contact Glen Park Estate or contact the police. We can talk to us. If anybody sees it, stay clear, but it'll not do any harm. But if you go near it, you're only scared off again, if you understand. So
exactly. So there's no point spotting it in a certain place, going up to it, then reporting that, and it's bolted off, half a mile up in the other direction. That's the motivation for staying clear of it.
That's the thing. It's not going to harm anybody. It's not going to touch you. It's not going to harm anybody. So we just have this. It's sitting in the area somewhere, and we're just trying to keep an eye out to keep looking for it.
I mean, listen, hopefully Winnie will turn up, and I'm sure he or she will, but it's also been a good opportunity for you to get the message about Glen Park Estate out there. And I'm not saying there's any motivation there, by the way, Richard, don't get me wrong, but it must be, whilst trying to get Winnie back, it's been great to get the opportunity to speak across the country about Glen Park as well.
It is, yes. Glen Park is situated. There's only a new business up and going over a year, and it's went through for the time of COVID. It's a new business for ourselves, and it's actually for the small animals we have here. It's not a petting farm. All the animals in their own areas, and they've all fenced off securely in their own area. And this is just a complete freak where this animal's jumped and has bolted, as you understand, from the pen. So it is now. So it's a freak to see it here, but we're thankful our neighbour seen it on the main road, and actually there's a pile of cars behind actually step back, but we just cannot pinpoint what direction the kangaroo went in, if you understand. That's our problem. If we can get a sighting anywhere at all, we'll see the sighting where the wallaby was. We've had no bother trying to put the trace on his. At this moment in time, we're looking for a needle in a 1,000 acres, million acres, you understand this.
I get you, I know. What height is it?
It's when it's hopping about, you'll be chatting in about 2 feet, 2.5 feet high.
Oh, it's only tiny.
But now when it's down in, yes, that's the sort of size, you understand what I'm saying. Then you see it when it's eating grass. It's down on the ground. It's sitting down in his hunkers on his knees, which I think eating the grass. It's even harder to see, you understand. So,
of course, and it will use that as its defence mechanism as well, won't it? Of course, to hide.
Yeah, it's a defence mechanism. So it'll bury it, hide itself into the grass from outside the hedges. So we just keep our eyes and keep watching. With the search party, they just keep looking for it till we find it.
And where would Winnie? Where's Winnie's natural home? If you know what I mean, like where are they found?
Well, they're found. They're more based than we get them. We actually purchase them from the south of England.
Right.
And the thing that we've here come across here, we've had them before in the state before. There's never any problem with them.
Just this one is a pretty good jumper by the sounds of things.
This one is just lady came in and just something skirted or bolted. I never seen it before. The jump was here. So they are quiet animals. You understand? There's no problem with them.
Oh, and very cautious and suspicious by the looks of it. All right, Richard. Best of luck in your search. Thank you.
Thank you much.
Take care. That's Richard looking for Winnie the Wallaby. Any sightings, get in touch.
It's the Northwest Truck Fest at Milford Mart this Saturday and Sunday with trucks from all over Ireland. Also bric-a-brac and home baking stalls plus live music. Proceeds to Ellie's Wish to Walk and MS Ireland Donegal branch. This ad is sponsored by Donegal Oil.
For a Portaloo for any event, contact the exclusive stockists in Donegal. Gortley Sales and Hire. Long-term and short-term quotes available for parties, festivals, weddings or any event across the county. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126 276.
Declutter this summer with Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms. Inflation-beating built-in wardrobe special offer. Get a 2 metre long wardrobe with 2 free mirrors built in for €1,099. Check us out online or book an appointment viewing in our Donegal Town showroom today on 07497 25822. Cherrymore, more bedrooms your way since 1996.
Are you frequently asking others to speak slowly, clearly and loudly? Is listening to the TV or radio becoming harder? If your hearing is affecting your everyday life, Connect Hearing are here to help. Our clinics in Letterkenny and Dunloe are open Monday to Friday, where you can avail of our hearing test, wax removal and repair services. Take that first step to better hearing. Call us today on 07491 13296. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
At AIB, we know how difficult finding the right home can be. The patience, resilience and belief you hold on to at every house viewing. But when you finally do find the right home, AIB can make the mortgage part easier. Our green mortgage is available when you buy an energy-efficient home. Find out more at aib.ie. AIB, we back belief. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Valid birth certificate of B3 or higher required. Allied Irish Banks plc is an authorised agent and servicer of AIB Mortgage Bank UC in relation to the origination and servicing of mortgage loans and mortgages. Allied Irish Banks plc and AIB Mortgage Bank UC are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
All right, so remember last week we were talking to a lady who was living in Letterkenny but was given short notice by their landlord to move out and ended up going to Milford and then had to get her children from Milford to Letterkenny to school, but because of the short notice missed the window of opportunity to apply for a school bus ticket. So we got on to Bus Éireann and they said a lot of stuff. But the stuff that's important to the inquiry we made, they said, our local school transport office has recently received correspondence from the family and they are working directly with them to resolve the matter. Okay, so hopefully a positive outcome to that. And I think by the tone of that email, Bus Éireann recognised that it is a unique situation and it sounds like they are going to work with the family to resolve that. Hopefully the lady listening will be able to give us an update and we can chase it up further if that is required. A caller says, hi, my child is aged 11 and has just received an autism diagnosis after being seen in Belfast. What do we do now? He's mild but needs input. Okay, so anyone out there with some advice, you can contact the likes of autismdad.ie and they'll be able to signpost you, I'm sure. But if any of our listeners want to help in the meantime, mild, according to this listener, their child 11, they've got the diagnosis, but what happens next? Okay, loads to come in the second and third hours of the programme. Stay where you are. We'll be back after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show brought to you by the Northwest Truck Fest, taking place this Saturday and Sunday in the grounds of Milford Mart, with proceeds to Ellie's Wish to Walk and MS Ireland Donegal branch. Crawford Tiles, Bathroom Suites and Wood Flooring, Castlefin. Massive 3-day sale starts this Thursday the 25th. There's 20% off tiles on Thursday, Friday and Saturday only. Other products discounted in store. Remember, 20% off tiles for 3 days only at Crawford Tiles and More, Castlefin. Call 914342.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Green Shoes, helping you get back to school ready with a variety of footwear and school bags from top names like Vans, Lily Kelly and Skechers. Also Sust and Wrangler, the most popular brands at great value. Shop in-store at Greens in Letterkenny and Falcarra and online at greenshoes.com for great back-to-school footwear and school bags.
Exam results arriving? Your future starts at Northwest Regional College. Visit our results days to confirm your place or apply for a course at our Derry, Strabane or Limavady campuses. Call 048 7127 6000 or visit nwrc.ac.uk/results. This is Northwest Regional College. This is your future.
The Northwest Truck Fest returns to Milford Mart this Saturday and Sunday. There's live music from Norman Borland in the Marquee on Saturday night at 9:30. And on Sunday afternoon, Farmer Dan and Ann Biddy. This ad is sponsored by JD Recovery Services, Kilmacrennan and Donegal Town.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The family of a Donegal man killed in 1973 are calling on the Irish government to seek answers from British authorities. New files obtained from the Military Records Office in London have revealed that 24-year-old Michael Leonard, a cattle dealer, was murdered by the RUC. The family from Pettigo are seeking a public inquiry and a criminal investigation into the killing. Researcher on the Troubles, Kieran McArt, says the files he has uncovered allege the RUC lied about the killing.
This is an Irish citizen who was an unarmed civilian who was murdered by the RUC, and then the RUC deliberately lied not only to the family and to the media, but also lied at the original inquest in 1973. So they told lies.
A woman in her 90s and her two sons are reportedly traumatised after a violent home invasion in Roscommon on Monday morning. It happened at a shop attached to a home in Ballintubber in the early hours when 6 men broke in to commit a robbery. One of the sons, aged in his 60s, was assaulted in the process. He did not require medical attention. Independent TD for Roscommon Galway, Michael Fitzmaurice, says Ireland needs to stop looking abroad for policing inspiration.
Ireland is a different country to the UK. We are very rural, especially in the west of Ireland. We have a lot of people that are more elderly than other parts of the world or in certain parts of the country. And we've got to make sure we look after them.
A Donegal father has hit out at a lack of support and a fit-for-purpose system for children with additional needs. John Joe McGinley, founder of AutismDad.ie, says he has 2 sons who are on the autism spectrum and have gone almost 2 years without support. Webinars are said to be replacing in-person care due to a lack of staff and a recruitment crisis. A psychologist is currently unavailable in the Northwest. Mr McGinley told today's 9 till noon show that children with additional needs deserve much better.
I'm not against webinar support if you're starting in the whole process where you're trying to get an overview as a new parent, where you're unsure of the needs that your child actually needs. But every child deserves and every child is entitled to a personal development plan looking at their own individual requirements.
Some students who have the points for third-level subjects may not be able to take up their studies because of the accommodation crisis. That's the bleak warning from the Union of Students, which says the accommodation crisis is preventing some individuals from undertaking degree courses. Ross Boyd is Vice President of Campaigns with the Union of Students in Ireland. He says the USI is calling on the government to cancel student contribution fees in order to reduce the financial burden on families.
The student contribution charge is the highest in the European Union and very much one of the main costs that can price people out of higher education. So very much calling on the Minister for Higher Education and the government to prioritise those costs as well as citizenship reform and very much specific targeted financial support for students who are the ones especially who may want to come to college but who may have the points but also then not be able to actually go in because of all these financial barriers.
And searches are continuing in a bid to locate a missing wallaby in Tyrone. The kangaroo-type creature is on the loose after escaping from the Glen Park estate near Omagh at around 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. It was last seen on the Gorchin Road, and you are asked to approach the animal with caution. Richard Beattie of Glen Park Estate says they are difficult to locate.
The problem is where we are situated here, there is thousands of acres of woodland. If I went towards the Gorchin Lane Forest, the amount of acres there through trees is very hard to think. And if I went the Oma direction, it's just the amount of grassland and fields right round. And if you go into the field near the wallabies, what to do is to sit down and they actually hide. As you understand, there's the hideaway into the grass, so they're it's very, very hard to find.
Weather now, sunny spells and scattered showers today. Highest temperatures of 16 to 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notice says for this Tuesday morning, August the 23rd. The death has occurred of John Lunn, London. Prayers this afternoon at 4 o'clock in McBurty's funeral home Killybegs. Removal to London with burial at a later date. The death has taken place of Marjorie McGeady Dunlew Gidor. Her remains are reposing at her home. Rosary tonight at 8 o'clock. Funeral Mass in the Church of the Sacred Heart Dunlew tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, donations in lieu to the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland, care of any family member. The death has taken place of John Stewart, 37, Churchview, Strabane, reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home tomorrow morning at 10:25 for Requiem Mass in the Church of the Immaculate Conception, Strabane at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in Strabane Cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers placed to the Foyle Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live on mcmmedia.tv. The death has taken place of Tara McAvenue, 70A, Winchester Park, Kilfennan, Derry. Tara's remains are reposing at her home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 9:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Lagmallan, travelling via her family home at Ardmallan, Mallinhead, followed by cremation at Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. The death has taken place of Columba McCrory, 13 McGinn Avenue, Buncrana. Viewing at McLaughlin and McLaughlin Funeral Directors from 2 until 4 o'clock and 6 until 8 o'clock today. Funeral Mass in St Mary's Oratory, Buncrana at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, with interment afterwards in Cockhill Cemetery. Family flowers only, donations in lieu to St Vincent de Paul's, care of any family member. The funeral mass can be viewed live at churchservices.tv. And the death has taken place of Patricia McColgan, Carrick McQuigley, Redcastle. Funeral from her home this morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Columba's Church, Drung, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Patricia's funeral mass can be viewed live on stcolumbusdrung.net. Family time please before the funeral. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Listen very carefully. Did you hear that? There it goes again. And again. You can now apply for the Household Benefits Package online. It's there to help you with the cost of electricity or gas, and you can even get a free TV licence. Over 70s automatically qualify, and others may also be eligible subject to qualifying conditions. To find out more, visit gov.ie/household package. The quickest and easiest way to apply is online at www.mywelfare.ie. One package per household. Brought to you by the Department of Social Protection.
All right, some of your comments coming in so far this morning. I want to get answers as to why Cashel Core in Buncrana is not open full time, as they have all injection boosters and schools are open to capacity. It's now time they talk to parents and guardians. My daughter gets 2 days, as do others. They are the ones missing out. I believe we discussed this a few months ago, and was it staff shortages was the issue at that time? Greg, this may be a stupid question to the untrained eye, but just drove past Errigal Mountain and a whole pile of people are heading up. But why on such a dreadful misty day that we can't see in front of you. Well, maybe it's brighter up at the top. I don't know what the story is. But I think if you were waiting for a clear day, completely clear day, there might be no one ever up there. But anyway, that's their choice. Hi, Greg, could you let me know how the Citizens' Assembly is elected? I don't believe it's elected. My understanding is invitations are sent out randomly and people choose whether to accept that invitation or not. That's my understanding. Anyone wish to correct me? 08660 25,000. Another caller wants to know, why don't they open the old road coming from Ballybofey? That way, take the biggest volume of traffic away from the Kilross Junction. Traffic coming to Kilross from Ballybofey, mostly going to Convoy, right? I think I know the little slip road you're talking about. That junction needs a roundabout. That's the only show in town as far as I can tell, to be honest with you. It's a major road and it needs a roundabout. Greg, does anyone know what the issue with traffic in Letterkenny was yesterday evening? I lifted the kids at the crash at 5:20 and got home at 20 to 7. This is just ridiculous. I wonder, is it relating to the ongoing works we talked about yesterday? I mean, if you hit Letterkenny at a certain time, it is slow. A caller says, I enjoyed the Rose of Tralee, and so apparently did the audience too. I think they like to keep the tradition as it's always been. Maybe folks like it that way. Very possibly, exactly. And, you know, it's like everything. It's up to people what they like, and if you like the Rose of Tralee in its current form, you watch it. If you don't watch it, and you just let other people enjoy it. That being said, this is the type of show where people have different views, so that's why I asked to invite those views in, and I appreciate yours. But if people enjoyed it the way it is, good luck to them, and good luck to everyone involved in it and watching it. A caller says, I can't understand why our government or the regulator can't do something about the increased electricity charges. The cost of electricity has gone up by 84% since this time last year, yet the electric companies are announcing profits in the millions, if not billions. We're being fleeced everywhere. Having a job is not good enough anymore. People would need 2 jobs just to survive now. And we heard 2 statistics which show many people over 65 are returning to work. Probably because their pension won't cover the cost of living, and they have to go back to work. In other words, to make ends meet. As to why the government won't do anything on increased electricity, I don't know the answer to that question. All I do know is if they give us, or not us, whoever is entitled to it, money to offset the increased cost of power, that money goes directly to the same companies that are already making record profits. I don't see the logic in that. I would love them to come up with something different, but bolstering the profits of companies that are already gouging their customers doesn't make a great deal of sense to me, and I don't think that's... and remember how we were reminded about how taxpayers' money is being used. I don't think giving these companies more of the taxpayers' money, albeit to try and ease the cost of, to offset the electricity costs for some people, that doesn't seem like a good way of doing it. There has to be an alternative, you'd imagine, wouldn't there? Okay, by the way, we have another €2,500 to give away this Friday. It's part of our summer mega cash draw here at Highland Radio. There's $2,500 to be given away on the 26th of August on David's Jive Time show. There's another $2,500 to give away on September 2nd on the Naughty Alarm Clock. And then on September 2nd, we'll also give away €10,000 on this programme. If you want to be in with a chance to be in all 3 draws that are remaining, well, you can get your tickets right now. Go onto our website, highlandradio.com. You could win $2,500 on Friday. If not, $2,500 the following Friday. And if not, maybe even the $10,000 on the 2nd of September. But if you want to make sure your ticket is secure for this week, get in touch with us right now. On our website, highlandradio.com, you'll see where to enter there. Or you can give us a call as well. 074 91 25,000, and we can sort that out for you. Now, it's up to you to enter if you can afford to and do it for fun. Tickets are €10 each, or you can purchase 6 for 50 or 10 for 80. And as I say, $2,500 available to the winner on Friday. We had the cheque collected yesterday for our first draw. Another $2,500 the following Friday, and $10,000 on that same day. So if you want to be within a chance to winning a total of $15,000 over those 3 draws, or to be in with a chance of winning part of it, you know where I'm coming from. Get in touch with us now by our website, highlandradio.com. You'll see where to enter there. But if you don't do it that way and you want to speak to a human, well, we've got Katie, the closest we could find this morning. Give us a call on 074 9125000. All right, here are the bingo numbers for all you players out there.
It's time for Ncbi Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Tuesday the 23rd of August. You're playing on the brown sheet. The reference number is S7. It's game number 34. The numbers are 2, 46, 50, 57, 63, 19, 44, 54, 18, and finally 65. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI Bingo information at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show in association with the Northwest Truck Fest this Saturday and Sunday at Milford Mart, with live music, family fun, a truck convoy and much more.
Fancy an adventure? Pack up the car and enjoy a day out with the National Trust in Fermanagh. Find magnificent mansions, tree-lined trails and riverside rambles. Go butterfly spotting at Castle Cool. Hire a bike at Florence Court and explore Lough Erne by boat at Crom. Watch the sunset from your tent or glamping pod. Explore and re-explore, adventure and re-adventure. Search National Trust NI to find out more. National Trust, for everyone, forever.
Back to school at Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure. Triple black footwear available in junior, women's and men's sizes from Vans and Adidas. Match it up with a backpack and tracksuit bottoms, ideal for back to school from Nike, Adidas, Vans and Under Armour. Look the part, play the part. In-store, online, mobile. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
It's Aldi's best value back to school event ever, with up to 45% off this week's Aldi Savers. Lighter slice mature white cheddar was $1.29, now 69 cent. Top up yogurt drink 6-pack was $3.19, now $1.79. Kids water 10-pack was $2.79, now $1.79. Heinz snack pots was $3.69, now $2.99. Dairy Gold was $3.59, now $2.99. And multigrain half loaf was 79 cent, now 69 cent. Aldi have savings after savings after savings. Just saying.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
Okay, and we welcome into studio Garda Niall Maguire from the Falcarra Garda Station. Good morning to you, Niall. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, okay, let's crack on, and we are seeking the public's assistance as it relates to criminal damage in Carndonagh.
Yes, Greg, on Saturday morning, the 20th of August, sometime after 4:30 a.m, a lady was alone at home in Millbrae Meadows, Carndonagh, when she was rudely awakened by a loud bang from downstairs. She was on her own and very frightened. She discovered that a 4-inch cement block was thrown through her kitchen window to the rear of the house. No entry was gained. Not sure what the motive was in this, Greg, but if anyone can assist us in identifying the suspect or suspects, then please contact my colleagues in Buncrana on 074 9320 540. That's Millbrae Meadows, Carndonagh.
All right. Criminal damage now in Clonmany.
After 10 p.m. on Friday night and Saturday morning past, a person reported that the front of their home at Clunta, Clonmany, had some kind of oil poured onto it. This is a pretty unusual occurrence, and the motivation again is not apparent to us or the householder, and the householder is at a complete loss as to why this occurred. However, if anyone can help us in identifying the person responsible or has any information that can assist in identifying this person, then please contact again the Gardaí in Buncrana, 074 9320 540, and they'll pass on any messages to the investigating team.
Yeah, bizarre one indeed. Right now, criminal damage in Ardra.
On Ardra, on Saturday past, on the main street in Ardra, several flower pots were vandalised between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. If anyone saw this happening or can assist in their identification, then please call the guards and Glenties on 074 95 51080.
Yeah, and indeed, not the most serious of crimes, but a lot of effort goes into this stuff. And, I don't know who's involved in it. Is it the local tidy town? So someone's put a lot of effort into this, and to wake up to that, it's just completely pointless, Niall, isn't it?
I think it's a private individual that owns this. The hours between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. would suggest maybe the motivation behind this is probably just somebody drunk, Greg,
All right, okay. At board motor gone from Glencolmkill.
Between Tuesday the 16th past and Wednesday the 17th, so between 10 p.m. on Tuesday and 6 a.m. early on Wednesday morning, a boat engine was stolen from a moored boat at Donegal, Glencolmkill. It was an outboard engine, and it's a Tohatsu 25 horsepower. It's a black engine, similar to a Suzuki engine. And should anyone notice this for sale or have any information in relation to this theft, then please contact my colleagues in Donegal Town on 074 9740190.
Yeah, and we have in the past, not saying it'll be the case here, but sometimes we can see a wee rush on that type of activity. So I suppose anyone with a boat out, tied to a pier or mooring or whatever, there's someone out there lifting them. They might not lift another one, but certainly worth making sure your engine's well secured, or not on your boat at all for that matter.
Yeah, that part of the country now seems to get hit worse with the sort of West Donegal and around that Donegal town area. There seems to be that seems to be a crime.
And they're big
concern.
money too.
A lot of money. That's a 25 horsepower engine. I don't know what year I think it was, but I'm sure whatever it was worth a lot more to the man that owned it.
Yeah, for sure. And again, just a reminder, not saying this person hasn't, but under the lid of that engine would be a good place maybe to mark.
Yep. We have the thing about these engines, Greg, they have their own individual serial numbers and stuff. So the owner has photographs of that and has provided that information to us, which is very useful.
Yeah. All right, okay. Listen, that's it. Gordon Al Maguire, thanks very much indeed for your time. I appreciate it greatly.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, okay. That was a short but sweet Community Garda slot for you this Tuesday. It returns next Tuesday, just after the 10 o'clock news.
The Community Garda information slot is brought to you by Sheridan Security Systems, protecting what you value most. Call today and get your zero-wire alarm system from €299. Sheridan Security, 91-26025.
All right, a caller says, why is it that electricity-generated wind in Ireland is the same price as electricity generated by oil and gas? Well, there's many reasons that I don't know, but I do know that people were encouraged to get into wind energy generation and were guaranteed a minimum price per unit of it. Okay, so even though it may well have been much cheaper and cleaner to generate wind, to generate electricity via wind, they were, to incentivize people to get into the market, they were guaranteed a minimum price per kilowatt, I think it is. So that's part of the reason. Re-traffic in Letterkenny from an earlier listener. It was traffic lights at roadworks at Old Town. It was letting 4 cars through at a time. 6 cars in front of me jumped the red light. I could understand their frustration. It was ridiculous. Okay, you ask a question, another one of our listeners is quick with an answer. Thank you very much indeed. Hello, Greg. Another €3.5 million worth of drugs discovered in Dublin last night. So big well done to the Garda. That comes in from Danny, but we know it's only the tip of the iceberg, Danny. Rosa Trilly last night. It was very silly to ask Dahi to go into the bath of ice cold water. Okay, that's part of the crack, isn't it? That he's put into awkward and uncomfortable situations. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I didn't see it. I watched maybe 30 minutes in the middle of it. But this caller says the contestants speak too much about themselves and they speak too fast. Maybe it's excitement or nerves, but they speak too quickly. It's nerve-wracking. These are just regular people. And can you imagine all the hype, all the build-up for a week, and to walk out in front of these bright lights, you can see all the audience, hundreds of them in front of you, and knowing it's being televised and half the country's watching, who wouldn't be nervous? But yeah, indeed. Why do women never be out painting, asks this caller. I don't know. It's just the question that came in. I'm going to put it out there. Why do women never be out painting? Where's the women in boiler suits out painting, asks the caller. That's a genuine person that is out and about and notices men out in boiler suits painting and is curious as to why women aren't out painting. I think many of us would know women in our lives that are not afraid of a paintbrush. But anyway. Why are not as many women in different, many men in different areas of care? The health service is built on the shoulders of women, as an example. You know, maybe there's just different jobs for different people. I don't know. Rightio. The only one thing I noticed on our way up to Malin yesterday was that I thought maybe I'm not the most observant of drivers because I'm fixated on the road and to make sure I don't crash into anyone or they don't crash into I just was wondering if the signage to Malin is as detailed as it possibly could be. Stuart's talking about a different area, though. Good morning to you, Stuart. How are you keeping?
I'm grand, not so bad.
Right, okay. You're talking
about a bad day here.
Is it? Okay, it's not too bad looking out the window from here. But
it's so wet here.
Really? Hopefully it improves to the afternoon. Where are you?
Hello? Dunfermline.
Okay, all right. So you're talking about signage as it relates to Hornhead, is that right?
Yeah, well, we've had no signage now for going on 4 years. And we've tried councillors, tried McHugh, messaged Joe McHugh and his aides, the ones that looks after the phone for him, and sent them emails, letters, and we still have no signage now after about 4 years in Hornhead. And it's a loop road, and people are going up, and they haven't a clue where they're going, and then they'll turn, and they'll come back down the same road again, so they're missing out. And we're on the Wild Atlantic Way. For some reason, they've stuck it on the Wild Atlantic Way, and without signage, we have one stop sign with no writing on the road, which I would say if you had an accident would be totally illegal because the writing's not on the road as well. And then they have the writing on the road at another junction and with no stop sign. And once you get to the top, there's a T-junction and there's nothing to tell you to turn right to take you back to Dunfanaghy or the scenic route or anything. There's just absolutely no signage. And it has been, I've been phoning and messaging them for 4 years in Donegal County Council. They've turned around and said, they blamed, before COVID they said that they had temporary ones. During COVID they said that they couldn't get anyone to make them, they hadn't time to make them, they hadn't got the company or whatever, and then there's nobody to put them up. So then after COVID now, one of them has even turned around and said that they're not going to put signs up because the last ones were taken down. So I don't know, it's a bit of a...
visitors...
It's a bit of a sad situation. You never get the same answer twice.
Yeah, and I presume, obviously, this is an inconvenience for people wishing to visit Hornhead, but also...
It's an inconvenience for tourists and locals alike, because I have a farm on both sides, and I will be walking sheep on the road. I'm not the only one who's on the road, not just walking sheep. But you'll meet a car, and you send the dog out round, take the sheep back, and the car will pass, they'll take a few photographs, they think it's great. You go up the road 10 minutes and they're turned and they're back on top of you again, come another way, and you're thinking, you've missed the whole point of coming to Hornhead in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But the council refuse, and every time you phone, like they're all on holidays or they're taking the day off, they're refusing to speak to me now at this stage. And I'm not just one person here, in Hornhead pushing this issue about signage.
But what's the problem, Stuart? Why is
I haven't a clue what is the problem with them. They have a problem with Hornhead signage and they're refusing even to speak about it now. And they put up 2 dead end signs. One going left, there's a road takes you way out to the back of Hornhead. So eventually they put a sign on that, and then they put one up at the top that's facing the hills. It's not even looking the right direction. The pole's sitting swinging round and round. It's just, I don't know what is the problem. We pushed for years to get some laybys done, and we have some done now, which is great. But we're pushing for years and years to get laybys, because if you meet, it's these camper vans. They're massive. They're the size of full buses. They're huge. When you see a camper van coming with a car on the bike or two on the back, and maybe 2 motorbikes on the back, they're a brave lump of a camper van.
They are,
and they're just refusing. I don't know what's the problem in Hornhead. And then we'll have signage over the road. Then as you head over as we call it, over west. And they're going about spraying their signs. We can't even get a sign. And they're spraying out, trying to stop tourists or let tourists know where they're going. I don't know what's their problem.
That's the protest, just that the English being on the signs, you see.
But what's the protest? There are tourists, there's hotels to be filled and guest house to be filled and shops looking for customers. Why would you stop people knowing where they're going in English? Because these people don't speak Irish. Signposts aren't for the locals. Signposts are for tourists.
Why do you think the signs have been stolen, the ones that were erected, I wonder? Or
They weren't
taken
stolen,
down?
they were damaged.
Right.
Because I brought them into the yard barracks. I found them lying on the ground underneath. They were damaged.
Do you think...
But, like, they weren't done 50 times or 30 times or 10 times. They were only
Once.
done once or twice.
Is there some
You know what I
resistance?
mean?
Do you think there's some people that maybe don't want tourists going up to Hornhead?
I haven't a clue. It's got to the stage that it's a joke now when you phone them in the office. Like,
all right.
They seem to they're waiting on your phone call every week to ask about signage, but it's not fair on tourists and locals alike.
100%. Yeah.
And there's one other issue when I'm on the phone.
Go on.
There's a road crossing done in Hornhead a few years ago. And we've contacted the council now. We've met the council on the road, and they're filling potholes on either side of it. And you ask them why you want to fill this, and they say it's an illegal road crossing. So I've been speaking to the engineer, and I said, "Would you not just fill it?" And he said, "No, it's not ours to fill." Now it's a severe pothole, but they're refusing to fill it. But if they're not going to,
what do you mean? Is this a crossroads, or is it?
No, it's a road crossing. Somebody's dug up the road.
Yeah.
Put whatever across water or whatever, didn't fill it, filled it back in again, tarred it or whatever, and it sunk, and the council are now refusing to tar it. Point blank, totally refusing to tar it. And they said that the people that have done the road crossing, it's up to them. But sure, if they're not going to push the issue, like, we all pay road tax in Hornhead, everybody pays road tax. And every day you have to drive up onto a lane to get up round it. And like you're wrecking your car.
Do you have a
But
picture
I
of
don't
it
know
by any
whether-
chance, Stuart? No.
No, but I can send it in. Like
Yeah,
any
when you
people will
pass the
phone you and
next
tell you
time-
how bad it
yeah,
is.
when you pass
it's an
it
absolute joke.
Okay, and sorry, it's
like an inverted. You know the way you get on the road, you get if you're in Letterkenny there, a thing to slow you down.
Speed ramps.
It's up like a speed ramp. Well, ours is the opposite. Ours goes down. It's an inverted speed ramp.
Right. It's convex or converse.
And people are hitting it that don't know about it. Like, you nearly need to put up cones at it. But it's been like that for years, and the council are refusing point blank to fix it.
And is the camper
But,
vans
both
and all would
sides
have
of
to
it-
go over this, would they?
It's the main road into Hornhead. They're refusing to touch it. But I can't understand what's their issue with Hornhead, like that they're not going to put up a sign or fix a complete dip in the road, like.
Right. Okay. Well,
But I was
listen.
hoping that today maybe I'll highlight it and maybe shame them into it or do something. But I mean, it's about time it was sorted. You know what I mean?
And I think you make a good point. It's not fair on locals, and it's not fair on tourists because they're doing loops. They don't know where they're going. They've driven all the way up there, and they don't
They've
actually
wasted
get to
their
see
journey.
Hornhead.
That's correct. They go to the lookout post and then they come back down, and they don't know that you have to go left. They just follow back down, and then you meet two camper vans together, and then the whole road's blocked the way back up.
And
that goes on daily.
you standing in the middle of the road with your sheep.
Well, sometimes, not every day. I don't walk them every day, like, but near enough.
You haven't seen Willie. You haven't seen Willie the Wallaby by any chance? No. We were
Oh, I nearly bought Willie the Wallaby there a few weeks ago. Thank God I didn't. I doubt he's a bit of a bad one.
He wouldn't be able to find his way home with the lack of signs. But anyway,
I have
Stuart,
used, I think that's bad enough.
I appreciate your sense of humour, but I also appreciate that this is something that's very frustrating. So
it's maddening, like, it's just,
we'll make our inquiries and see what the story is. I might drive up and have a look at this trench to see what's going on.
you may as well.
Yeah, just for the crack. All right, then. Listen,
Right.
Stuart, we'll see what the council come back to us with, okay? Thanks
on
very
you.
much
Thank
for
you
your
very
time.
much.
All right, take care of yourself. 086 60 25,000, that's the WhatsApp and text line.
Brought to you by the Northwest Truck Fest, taking place this Saturday and Sunday in the grounds of Milford Mart, with proceeds to Ellie's Wish to Walk and MS Ireland Donegal branch.
New this week in Home Store and More. All clothes hangers are all half price. And remember, all our office chairs and desks are also still all half price. Do you want to upgrade your home office? Get a more comfortable office chair and a modern space-saving desk? Or do your kids start in college and need their room kitted out? We have a wide range of half-price office chairs and desks to choose from. But hurry, because when all our half-price office chairs and desks are gone, they're gone. Shop in-store or online. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Is your car due a service? We offer pickups and drop-offs from your home or work. We even offer courtesy cars, making your car service a hassle-free experience. Call today or visit imotors.ie to book in.
Hey,
11 years, Sarah. 11 years.
Oh my God, is everything okay?
It's all off.
You and Paul?
No, my bank. We're breaking up.
Oh, Jane. There's plenty more fish in the CCPC money tool.
Breaking up with your bank? Search for your new match using CCPC's free independent current account money tool. Find your new account now at ccpc.ie/move. From the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why. The Euromillions Jackpot is an estimated €85 million. Play responsibly, in-store, in-app or at lottery.ie. The National Lottery. It could be you.
Enjoy family fun this Sunday at the Northwest Truck Fest at Milford Mart, with Truckfest Ted, live music plus prize giving for trucks in various categories, including the Decky Hullion Perpetual Trophy and George Tracy Memorial Trophy. This ad is sponsored by Donegal Tyres.
All right, a caller says the traffic chaos at the bottom of Letterkenny Town was caused by roadworks going on just over the Old Town Bridge. I was caught in it, and part of the problem is that the traffic lights going both ways are only a 10-second timer, thus only allows about 3 or 4 cars to go per time. If it were increased to 30 seconds each way, I think it would make a bigger difference. Another, traffic was moving good until they put up lights at McGinley's garage. I think the lights are too slow at changing. Well done to Matthew Crampsey from Inishowen and the band Kyo last night on the Rose of Tralee. They were amazing. Well done, lads. Our Donegal Rose is beautiful, and her filming of Rathmullen Shoreline was stunning. Good luck to you, Katie. And hi, Greg. The electric charges, all they need to do is reduce the standing charge to 10 across the country. Well, we'll see. Still no answer as to how charging more for electricity between 5 and 7, how we can avoid that. Still no answer there. Right, okay. Alison joins us now. Hiya, Alison. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you? Thanks for inviting me on.
No, it's an important issue, and we want as many people to hear your story as is possible. So this is focusing on the importance of children wearing helmets. Why did this become important to you in your life, Alison?
Well, Greg, just last Tuesday, my oldest son, Ryan, that's 11, cycles his bike, and he was out last Saturday evening at 6:30 on his bike just on the estate where we live, wearing his helmet, and I had just gone in and I was brushing the floor and I had heard like a loud bang, and my young son Dylan came in and said that my son had crashed into a car in our estate. So it would have been like my son's fault. Greg, he would have been driving very fast and the car was actually stopped, so it was him, that crashed him, but he was taken by ambulance to hospital, and the doctor just says, that he was very lucky. Sorry, Greg, I just had a frog in my throat, that he was very lucky to be wearing his helmet, because, from a parent's side of view, a lot of kids now will be thinking, it's not cool to wear a helmet. But, in this case, I think he was very, very lucky. And there may be kids now going back to school shortly cycling, obviously because we're still having good weather. And I just think it's great to raise awareness of helmet wearing.
You didn't see Alison, but are we presuming that he hit the car with his front wheel and then was propelled forward and banged the helmet off the car then?
Well, what happened, Greg, now there would have been a neighbour that seen it, and my son would have been throwing on the bonnet of the car, Greg.
Okay. And the doctors themselves told you he was lucky that he had the helmet on.
Oh, absolutely, they did indeed. And like, he would have a few little cuts at the side of his eye, and he would have had a black eye and a few bruises on his legs, but he's just so lucky now.
Yeah, he took a bad old bang, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but he's such a good patient. He never complained.
And the problem is, and you've highlighted though, Alison, it can be hard to convince the young ones to wear the helmet while cycling. In fact, some of them will say, "Well, I won't cycle then. I don't want to wear the helmet." Any tips?
Oh, absolutely. They used to they would say that, it just happened so fast. Like, I had just come in and I thought, oh my God, I don't believe this. But I guess, as a parent, it's maybe talking to them about how you can stay safe, and that it's to protect our heads, really, and that if we did come off our bike, the helmet is there to protect us.
And is he back on the bike again yet?
Well, Greg, the bike, you wouldn't be able to go on the bike now.
Oh,
no.
Wow. Okay. And you got an awful shock too, Alison, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was an awful shock, but I think as a parent, you try to be brave for your children, and I know the other little children would have got an awful shock as well, like.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm glad that he had the helmet on. He's lucky, but then again, it's not luck, is it? Because he's made sure he was wearing the helmet, and that's why his injuries were limited. But Alison, it's a good reminder, and as you say, it's a timely reminder with hopefully more of our young people cycling to school if it's an option for them, and doing so safely.
Yeah, absolutely, it is indeed, Greg.
All right, have a lovely day. Best wishes to Ryan. Thanks, Alison.
Thanks, Greg. Thank you. Have
Bye-bye.
a great day. Bye.
Take care of yourself. Bye-bye, Alison. A caller says the Rose of Tralee is a promotion on tourism for Ireland worldwide. It is fantastic for Ireland's future. The Rose of Tralee makes us proud to be Irish, and Dahi is a wonderful host. That comes in from Eva. The majority of people seemingly enjoying the show in its current format, which is good. Very good, and I respect those views. Hi, I was wondering if someone could give me some info regarding pet restrictions on Donegal beaches. No signs at a few of the beaches I have been at. Just wondering if this has actually come into effect. Well, the public consultation process as it relates to dogs on blue flag beaches, that has to have been gone through at this point. So there is no ban, as far as I'm aware, at the moment of dogs on beaches, blue flag beaches, that is. If you have a dog or a pet with you, you are supposed to keep it under control at all times, regardless of any new laws. So for next year, I believe, between certain times and on certain dates, dogs will be banned from sections of blue flag beaches unless they're assistance dogs. But that's not in effect yet. But even yesterday, I was somewhere, I won't say where, and someone let their dog off, and the dog came running up to me, and it's all smiles and what have you. Cute wee thing. It wasn't wee, it was quite big. And it doesn't bother me particularly, to be honest with you, but I was just thinking if that was someone who had a fear of dogs, it would have ruined their day. A lot of people have a fear of dogs, but the owner didn't mind, didn't see any issue with it at all, which is fine. I don't mind, but I also am conscious I try and think of other people as much as I can. Dear Greg and team, via a letter. I have a letter. Greg Hughes, Mountaintop Letterkenny. Coming in from Karen. Thanks, Karen, for taking the time to write. Good morning, Greg and team. Just an observation from my experience. As Ulster Bank is closing and everyone has to get a new account elsewhere, I did this for my weekly social welfare payment recently. I'd opened up an account with permanent TSB, to which nothing was lodged until my social welfare is transferred over, which will be in the next week or so. But in the meantime, permanent TSB have taken it upon themselves to deduct €6 monthly from the account, even though it's just been opened and now has, well, they're overdrawn by €6. So when my weekly pension goes into this account, I will be down €6 straight away. With Ulster Bank, I only paid the fees for the lodgements, ATMs use, etc. My question is, should banks make accounts used solely for social welfare payments exempt from the €6 charge, as it is little enough money to begin with, and with the cost of everything at the moment, €6 would do a lot of folks like me living week to week on the payments. I wait to hear people's responses. Thanks as always for a great show. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much indeed. Now, The problem is, Karen, is this, some banks don't charge this, and like for what you're using your bank for, you may have been better off with an alternative, because if it is just your social welfare payment, €60 per month is not insignificant. It's a couple of litres of milk, for example, quite a few of them, in fact. So I would suggest that maybe your account, that account is not really suitable for what you're looking for, because the levy is too high on the amount of money going through. If you were lodging your wages and it was, multiples of the social welfare payment, it might be okay. But I just think to be down €6 before you've even got your money into it is not fantastic at all for you. All right, but anyone out there with any information, opinions. Should banks make accounts used solely for social welfare payments exempt from the €6 charge? I think so, but how would you actually make an account? I would think there's very few people who would use an account only for that, though. That's the only thing, Karen. But listen, thanks for your letter. I really appreciate it. Right, John Nevin of Newlands Newfield Inn, it's between Newport and Mulranny in County Mayo, joins us on the programme now. John, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
How is
and
beautiful
to all the
Mayo?
listeners in Donegal.
Yep. How's beautiful Mayo this morning?
The program. Sorry?
How's beautiful Mayo this morning?
Beautiful Mayo is lovely this morning. We have nice sunshine, no rain, a bit cloudy, but that's all. But it's grand, as it always is.
Right, okay.
Even with the rain.
Yeah, of course it is. The same as Donegal. Now, you have brought in 2 robots, Bella and Bertie, to serve customers their meals. Now, I'm curious, how much of this is necessity? How much of it is a wee bit of PR, John? Set me straight.
Well, there's a bit of both, I guess. We introduced them about 4 months ago. Just to remind the listeners who we are, we're Nevins Newfield Inn. We're situated in a place called Tiernar. It's between 2 towns, Mulranny and Newport, on the western seaboard. We're on the N59, and of course we're on the Western Way, and of course we've got the Greenway behind us as well. So basically, we have, of course, a lot of tourism in our area. It's a big part of our business. So obviously, in the last 12 months, with the situation with staff, there is a shortage of staff. Everybody in the country knows that, and that and other things. We looked at alternative ways of getting staff here, number one, and was there any other ways that we could facilitate the staff that we have, making things easier for them? And that's where these Bella bots came in.
But, I mean, like, they transport the food, but you still have staff to take the food from the robot to the customer, or does the customer take the food off the robot itself?
No, basically what the robot does, it takes the food from the kitchen and it's assigned to a particular table. And then the waiter or waitress takes the food off and places it in front of the customer, whoever has ordered it. So basically that's what so you could call the robot a food runner, supposedly. Mm-hmm. And that takes the work off the waiter or waitress, backing over into the kitchen, getting food. So basically what we look at is that the waiter or waitress that's working on the floor in the restaurant has more time to offer to the customer to attend to their needs.
So, in terms of what the customer thinks, what's your feedback you're getting? Because people are flocking to see Bella and the other robot, I can't remember its name, Bertie and Bella, to see them in action.
Oh yeah, there is. The people are thrilled to see them in action, and they come here for different occasions. Of course, big hit with the children, and not so much with the children either, even with adults. So, they're. I'm amazed by it myself. I'll be quite honest with you. But and they're working out well for us. Not just maybe a gimmick. It's also that they are making the way in the workforce, and they're helping out.
And do the robots prefer transporting chunky fries or microchips?
Everything.
Okay, right. And they sing to the customers as well.
They do. They have, sing happy birthday to the, if there's a birthday at the table or whatever, they sing happy birthday. they will be singing, I suppose, after the announcement yesterday evening of our new Mayo football manager. They'll be singing the green and red of Mayo, hopefully, in the months ahead.
Yes, Jim McGuinness would have been a good fit for that job, I think.
I'm delighted for the man that got it.
Now, let me ask you this. You have an interest in technology, do you? Where did you source these robots?
Well, basically, the idea, one of our staff was actually abroad, and he seen them in action in Asia. And when he came back, then we checked up on the technology, and we found a company and an agent in Ireland here who had the franchise. So that's how we got in contact with them. First of all, we brought one in as a demo model just to see how it would work,
Mm-hmm.
And after the demo was over, they took it away, and I started getting phone calls saying, listen, we're coming down there next week. Yeah, we'd like to be served by the robot, or we'd like them to have happy birthday. And this was continuous, so I had no choice but to then buy two of them, because we found with the demo, one was very much on its own,
Yeah, lonely.
And lonely is right, and so they want a companion. So they're more efficient with two.
And in terms of its autonomy, does anyone have to control it, or can the chef or whoever it is place the food on the plates that are contained within the robot, and then it'll make its own way to the table, or how does that work?
Yeah, basically what the robot will be in the kitchen. The chef or whoever's in the kitchen places the food onto the trays. It can take 8 plates at a time, and then on the robot is a keypad, so you just key in or touch the table number and press enter, and away it goes to its destination.
Now, of course, there are those that don't like, self-service machines in supermarkets because they think it costs people jobs. You had the staffing issue before you got these robots, but have you had any pushback that, there could be one or two locals that aren't getting jobs because Bertie and Bella have their jobs?
No, not at all. What we find is that we haven't come across that at all, actually, and it hasn't cost any jobs here. If anything, Greg, it has created more jobs. And in technology and what we have seen, in our lifetime, that's what technology does. It's how it creates jobs, not eliminate them. It may maybe do it with a certain job, but it'll create a new one.
Yeah, well,
but in our case,
we are 200,000 light in terms of staff for the hospitality industry, the catering industry. That's a fifth of a million extra staff we need. I know this is a bit of a novelty, and it's not going to be a solution to that, but that's how many jobs are available versus how many are there to fill them.
Yeah. No, we have a big problem in hospitality all through the country at the moment, and we've even seen in locally with places have had to close down 2 days a week in order to because they haven't enough staff, basically. And it's sad to see that, especially in the summertime when everything should be, buzzing.
How was the summer in Mayo? Separately, I suppose you could say. How was? Up here, a lot of people reporting a relatively quiet July, but a really busy August. What was the story in Mayo?
That would be very similar to here.
Yeah.
We had a very, quieter July. It's busy August, but not as maybe as busy as last year.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, it was all staycationers last year. And this year, more people have gone abroad on their holidays,
Okay. Listen, brilliant stuff, John. Thanks for that. It's Nevins Newfield Inn. It's between Newport and Mulranny in County Mayo, for anyone who's down that way. And Bertie and Bella are on hand to sing.
To serve you.
The Hills of Donegal. We'll have to get it programmed in, maybe.
I can get that done too.
Okay. I'd say. All right, John,
that's a good idea, Greg.
Exactly. There's songs for every county in the country. Good man, John. Thank you.
Okay, thanks again. Thanks for having me on the programme. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. That's John Nevin of Nevins Newfield Inn. Okay. what do you think about that? There's a bit of a novelty element to it. There's just no doubt about that. But still.
It's the Northwest Truck Fest at Milford Mart this Saturday and Sunday with trucks from all over Ireland. Also bric-a-brac and home baking stalls plus live music. Proceeds to Ellie's Wish to Walk and MS Ireland Donegal branch. This ad is sponsored by Donegal Oil.
The Birth Information and Tracing Act is now here. People adopted, boarded out, or the subject of an illegal birth registration can access their birth information where available from October. A contact preference register has been established to enable these people and those connected to them to register their preference in relation to future contact with relatives. This is an important issue for many, and an information booklet has been delivered to homes across Ireland. Visit birthinfo.ie to find out more.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
Mourne Antiques and Jewellery are celebrating 30 years in business in Letterkenny with 30% off. See their great range of antique and contemporary gold and silver pieces, Hollywood-era costume jewellery and some rare and exclusive engagement rings. Also, their selection of antique china, silver, furniture and decorative pieces. Mourne Antiques on Main Street, Letterkenny, celebrating 30 years in Letterkenny with 30% off this week only.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner. When school's back, it's non-stop. Luckily, there's bags of food savings at Lidl. Get bird's eye chicken burgers reduced from €3.45 to just €2. A bunch of bananas, only 49¢, and a multi-pack of John West tuna, just $4.75. Now their offer's worth repeating. School days cost less at Lidl. More for you.
For all your health and beauty needs, you can always rely on McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. If you need a prescription, just call or order online at mcgees.ie and it will be ready for you in advance before you arrive. For beauty and skin care, there's all the big names at great prices in store and online. And for your photo printing needs, simply download the McGee's Photo Prints app or click on the website link. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For all your health and beauty needs and so much more. Call 91-21409 or visit mcgees.ie.
Over time, it's natural for your hearing not to be as clear as it once was. The good news is, advances in hearing aid technology may offer different solutions. Sabrina Robb here from Donegal Hearing Clinic. We provide peace of mind with hearing issues that affect people of all ages. Contact us for a consultation at Donegal Hearing Clinic on 07491 88470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Oakfest 2022 returns this September the 10th and 11th at Oakfield Park, Rafo. The two-day, family-friendly music event runs across 2 full days with loads of amazing acts. Headlined by Ryan Sheridan on Saturday and the Undertones on Sunday. Tickets are only €30 for the entire weekend, with limited tickets remaining. Get yours today at oakfieldpark.com/Oakfest or ticketmaster.ie. An exciting weekend not to be missed. Oakfest 22 at Oakfield Park.
It's the Northwest Truck Fest at Milford Mart this Saturday and Sunday with trucks from all over Ireland. Also bric-a-brac and home baking stalls plus live music. Proceeds to Ellie's Wish to Walk and MS Ireland Donegal branch. This ad is sponsored by Donegal Oil.
Good morning to you once again. You're tuned to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. Stay right where you are. Lots of interesting stuff between now and midday, including a news update. Let's say good morning now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A woman has been left shaken after a cement block was thrown through the window of her home in Carndonagh. The incident occurred on Saturday at around 4:30 a.m. in the Millbrae Meadows area. The woman was at home on her own at the time. The family of a Donegal man killed in 1973 are calling on the Irish government to seek answers from British authorities. New files obtained from the Military Records Office in London have revealed that 24-year-old Michael Leonard, a cattle dealer, was murdered by the RUC. The family from Petticoat are seeking a public inquiry and a criminal investigation into the killing. A woman in her 90s and her 2 sons are reportedly traumatised after a violent home invasion in Roscommon yesterday morning. It happened at a shop attached to a home in Ballintubber in the early hours when 6 men broke in to commit a robbery. One of the sons, aged in his 60s, was assaulted in the process. A Donegal father has hit out at a lack of support and a fit-for-purpose system for children with additional needs. John Joe McGinley, founder of AutismDad.ie, says he has 2 sons who are on the autism spectrum and have gone almost 2 years without support. Webinars are said to be replacing in-person care due to a lack of staff and a recruitment crisis. Supersized primary school classes exist in every county in Ireland. That's according to the INTO, which has called on the government to reduce average class sizes to the EU average of 20. An outboard motor has been stolen from a boat in Glencolmkill. The engine was taken from the boat moored at Donegal sometime between 10 p.m. on Tuesday last and 6 a.m. on Wednesday morning. Gardaí are appealing to anyone who has any information or who may see the motor for sale to come forward. Meanwhile, investigations are underway to identify a person responsible for pouring oil on a home in Clonmany. Sometime between 10 p.m. on Friday night last and the following morning, the oil was poured at the front of the property in the Clincha area. Gardaí say no motive for the incident has been identified. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
OK, Michaela, thank you very much indeed. Back after this really short break.
If you're pregnant, it's time to boost your protection from COVID-19. Protection from previous vaccines or from COVID-19 infection decreases over time. Your next vaccine will help protect you and your baby from serious illness in the months ahead. For information or to book an appointment at a HSC vaccination centre, visit hsc.ie. Call our team in HSC Live on 1800 700 700 or contact a participating GP or pharmacy. From the HSC, for us all.
All right, NCT centres in Dublin, Limerick and Laois have the highest pass rates in the country this year. But once again, Donegal features in the other end of the scale, or at the other end of the scale, with some of the lowest pass rates for NCTs. In fact, Derrybeg in Donegal has a pass rate of less than 39%. Now, we're joined on the programme by David Humphreys, road test editor with CompleteCar.ie. All right, I mean, people will be scratching their heads. What's the big difference between, the East and the West, Dave? I think you've got your theory. I'm not sure about it, but anyway, let's hear it.
Well, I mean, there's a number of different reasons for it. One of which being, obviously, in Dublin, some roads are a little bit smoother and better, and maybe people aren't using their car as much, so therefore there's less wear and tear on it. So there's a number of different factors in it, Also, even down anecdotally, we hear that some test centres are not more lenient, but they're less willing to fail things on very minor things. So there's a difference with failure rates as well. You have to bear in mind that you can fail on something very minor. And then you have a more of a major failure, and then you have a dangerous failure. So the numbers, although you see very low pass rates, that's not necessarily a whole picture. So it's very easy to look at the numbers and just see that. That's one of the reasons for it.
Yeah, I think I think though what we should be able to expect, Dave, is a consistency in terms of what is deemed a pass or what's deemed a failure. I don't think this is a space whereby we should have maybe some people in certain test centres particularly picky. That should be audited. The same car Absolutely. Put through various centres, because without that information, we kind of are in the world of speculation. And I think really we pay through the nose for this, and we should have an audit of, and maybe it can be random or what, is there a difference between different test centres on standards?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is the thing. We have test centres all over the country, and we also have the fact that we have an aging car population in Ireland as well. So once cars get beyond a certain age, they're then going to have to get a test every single year. But we also see anecdotally a lot of people who really take little care of their cars and will send it through an NCT to see what it fails on and only then remedy that. Now, it's not a great way to do things, but in one way, I can absolutely understand why, because motorists are having to pay through the nose for everything. Fuel costs are very high. Insurance costs continue to rise. And then on top of that, when you have to have a car NCT'd every single year at €58 a go, plus potentially another €28 for a retest, it all starts to add up. And people can be a little bit more reluctant nowadays when finances are hard at home to take that preventative maintenance rather than reactive maintenance to their cars.
Yeah, and while it might seem like a clever way of doing it, the chances are you're going to incur that extra €28 at least, and maybe even more if it's another full test. So it's a false economy, arguably. If you trust your local garage, get them to have a look over it.
I mean, you should, with your car, you should be getting it checked at least once a year. And also things like spending money on tires, checking your tire pressure every month. It might seem like a silly thing to do, but it can prolong the life of your tires. It can improve your fuel economy, so reduce how much fuel you're using. Not to a huge extent, but it all starts to add up.
Yeah, indeed. And in terms of, we don't know what cars are failing for, because that would also give us a bit more information, Dave, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so for example, I mean, we frequently see the common things being things like brake lines, so corrosion on brake lines, tires as well. So if a tire is below a legal minimum, that's also something that's a very common failure. But we also see cars failing on things like registration lamp bulbs, for example, which is a bit of a silly thing in the whole scheme of things. It's not exactly something that's safety related, but it is just one of those things that it can fail on. Now, that all helps to skew the figures. Now, if something like that happens and it's just a bulb gone, in most cases, go and get a new bulb in it, come back, they'll just do a visual inspection and you pass. That's fine. But there are things like, for example, you can pass with an advisory. So if your tires are just above the legal minimum, they'll say you'll pass, but they will note on it. That means that you're not going to get a whole year out of your tires, although a lot of people may think, oh, this is good to go for another year.
Yeah, and I can understand how you might think that everything, thumbs up, because really your NCT is a test of the car in that moment. It does not in any way suggest the condition of that car even a day later.
Exactly, yeah, and I've even heard examples of people getting a puncture on the way to an NCT test, or they hit a pothole and that throws the tracking out, and the next thing it can fail. So there are all these things which are very, very annoying, and I can absolutely understand the frustration a lot of motorists would face when it comes to an NCT. It's one of those things that people don't really like to have to do.
Yeah, and you mentioned the light on the number plate, and we've had people who've bought cars, the garage has put the number plates on the cars, they've gone for their NCT when it was due, after the number of years that it is due, and then it was failed because of the number plates. Like there's, and if anyone out there has some of the strangest reasons for failing your NCT, get in touch with us, 086 60 25,000. So, there's two things going on here, multiple things, but cars failing because of a bulb, to use that example, but there are thousands upon thousands of cars that fail and actually should never be driven until such time as they're repaired. That's a much more serious part of all of this, Dave.
Correct, yes. And that is ultimately the real purpose of the NCT, is that we have all cars on the road that are at least to a minimum safety standard, because this will affect everyone on the road. It's not just the person driving a car. If a car is dangerous or defective or not roadworthy, if that's involved in an accident, chances are there could be other people involved in an accident. If you're found to be driving a car that should not be on the road, your insurance could be null or void. It's one of those things that there is, I can see why people don't like the NCT, but it is there to try and improve it for everybody. But ultimately, as cars get older, they need more maintenance. And unfortunately, it's not that easy. Not everyone can afford a new car. People are in older cars, not necessarily by choice, but because of a necessity. So I can sympathise with motorists in that respect.
And as well as that too, if it's of a certain age, they face increased insurance. They face increased car tax. If they want to pay in for their car tax, and this is the government that are doing this, they're charged a premium for paying every 3 months for their car tax, which I think is horrendous.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
If it was a private company, I'd be angry. The fact that it's the state infuriates me, and yet it still rumbles on.
It should be absolutely no difference. If that's your rate of motor tax per year, whether you pay it in one go or over 3 months or 6 months, it should be the exact same. There's no reason in this day and age why they should have to charge motorists even more for doing that.
What will happen, though, is, people might look at Derrybeg and go, I wonder what's going on there, and go to Letterkenny or Donegal Town or one of the other test centres. So it's hard to know what the publication of these figures achieved. People almost shopping around for a more lenient test centre. if it is down to sort of, staff that are pretty fussy. We don't know.
Yeah, well, absolutely. That is a thing. And bear in mind, you don't have to get your NCT done in any particular centre. You can get it done anywhere you want. And actually, earlier on this year, when there was such a backlog of NCTs, we had people going all over the country to try and just get a test so that their car was still with a valid NCT.
I mean, do you think there's any value or benefit in someone, be it, an arm of the state or wherever, comparing pass rates versus sort of, road traffic collision rates and factors there? I think there's enough information in here that is worth looking at to see in terms of trends and if we need any sort of targeted approach to stuff, particularly in the important area of road safety, Dave.
I think, yeah, absolutely. The government needs to do a lot more about road safety and driving standards in Ireland. In my profession, I drive all over the world with this job, and I have to say, in Ireland, it is one of the poorest standards of road use in Europe. It is very, very poor here. I think the education system needs to be overhauled. I think we need to start instilling it in during the school years to try and educate people about this. But also, we now have motorists that are increasingly distracted. Mobile phone use is absolutely out of control. So there are so many distractions in cars now and on the road.
But there are a number of factors that can contribute to road traffic collisions, and we always focus on the driver, and rightly so, because that's maybe where the message can be gotten through. But there is also the condition of the vehicle and the conditions of the road. And I think sometimes the last one, a pass is somewhat given that, a lot of road traffic collisions, the road conditions can contribute to that, but it's never talked about. It's always, talking about what the driver can do and can't do. And that's important. I don't want to conflate things here, but I think our road conditions too, as someone who travels extensively as part of their job, test driving and what have you, how do our roads hold up to our European counterparts and elsewhere?
It's very hit and miss in Ireland. There are some areas that are very, very good, but unfortunately, I'm sure every listener will know there are certain stretches of road that either have absolutely the wrong speed limit, they have a dangerous bend on them, or the surface is very, very poor. And we have a huge inconsistency in the standards of our roads in Ireland. And, an awful lot of money is spent on these roads, but it's not necessarily doing the right work. And, we constantly see it, even on social media, see people posting pictures of obscene potholes and poor road surfaces. And it's only so much that a motorist can drive around these issues, but those road surfaces are also having an effect on the NCT because they're increasing wear and tear on these cars as well.
Yeah, and
so the motorist, in a way, is paying extra for this.
Yeah, and if you strike a pothole, you can claim back repairs from the local authority as well. So maybe that will stiffen the cough. Dave, what's the I suppose affordable is a very sort of relative statement. What's the best affordable car you've driven lately, test driven?
In terms of affordability, things like the Suzuki Swift, it's a small hatchback. It's quite a good car for what it is. It's I hate to use the phrase, but it's cheap and cheerful. But the big thing is everything is going electric, and unfortunately, a lot of people want to have an electric car, but they're still very expensive at the moment. So hybrids are a little bit cheaper, but I wouldn't totally be writing off petrol cars and even diesel in certain cases. If you're somebody that does a huge amount of mileage, a modern diesel car is still the cheapest way to do it.
Do you know what I think the industry needs to get out in front of is battery warranties? Because I think we're getting, from when people really started to move into hybrid and full electric, a lot of them are coming towards the end of the warranty and are starting to find themselves being faced with quite big bills in some cases to replace them. I think the industry needs to get out in front of that because I think we're going to be hearing an awful lot of that from users over the next year or two. I don't know what you think, Dave.
I think it's a very common misconception that batteries are spent in an electric car after 6 or 7 years. All the data I've seen, that is absolutely not the case. I would have no issue in buying a used electric car, even 6 or 7 years old. pretty much every manufacturer will give a minimum of an 8-year warranty on that battery, and that will guarantee that
100,000 miles too, and that makes people go, what, 100,000 miles? That's, in Donegal, you wouldn't be long putting that up, Dave. That's really,
Yes, but also the same could be said for an engine as well.
But I'd prefer to repair or replace an engine.
Can be quite expensive as well.
Well, they can, I get you, I understand. But you don't think then that's going to be a particular issue then?
No, I from what I've seen, and I've driven every single electric car that's available on the market at the moment, and I've looked into a lot of this in terms of the data, and I don't see, absolutely there will be the odd one that may have an issue. What usually shortens the lifespan of an electric car is if you constantly fast charge it or rapid charge it, that will absolutely do it. But if you're just at home and you're doing your normal charging, you charge it to 80% every time, you should not have any issues with it, and it would not be a concern for me.
All right, Acola says, my car passed the test, but there was a pull to the left in the car. When I took it to my mechanic, there was 2 broken coil springs in the car, and the NCT mechanic did not cop on. Certainly not Derry Begg. I don't think that happened in Derry Begg. All right, listen, Dave, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. People can check out completecar.ie, I'm sure, for more from you, Dave, and the team. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me on.
All right,
Cheers.
have a goodie. Take care of yourself. 08660 25,000. I failed the test over a light. When she left the house, the light was working, and when she came back, it was working, and the car was only coming from the garage from having a service done for the NCT. Wow, what a sickener that is. Why should a car only be allowed 1 year NCT test just because of its age with low mileage? It's not fair. It is not fair. A lot of it's not fair. I failed because my dip bulb was put upside by the garage. Oh no, right, okay. What did you do? Did the garage pay? A 1/2-inch chip on the windscreen at the very bottom corner, not in the view of the driver, failed off the back of that. That's another sickener. That is another sickener. All right, keep them coming into us. What is the most annoying thing for which your car failed the NCT?
The 9 till Noon Show, brought to you by the Northwest Truck Fest, taking place this Saturday and Sunday in the grounds of Milford Mart, with proceeds to Ellie's Wish to Walk and MS Ireland Donegal branch.
If the medical experts get it wrong, everything changes. From misdiagnosis or delayed diagnosis to surgical injury or even poor treatment, all have physical, emotional and financial consequences. We're here to help. So if your treatment didn't go according to plan, speak to our experienced medical negligence team at McElhenney & Associates. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
Patterson's The Hall, Lifford, one of Ireland's largest kitchen and interior showroom. Open Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Kitchens, beds, mattresses, furniture and garden furniture, all under one roof. 50% off our ex-display kitchens. Everything you need to make your house a home at Patterson's Kitchens and Interiors, The Hall, Lifford.
Fleming doors, not flaming doors, garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, providing engineering solutions since 1860. Fleming, 91 48 234.
Nutrius Weanling Crunch offer, directly supported by the Arrivo Fodder Support Fund, is now available at your local Homeland store. Buy 10 bags of Nutrius Weanling Crunch ATP, get one free. The Nutrius Beef ATP pack enhances animal performance through maximising rumen efficiency. T's and C's apply. Contact your local Homeland or farm commercial specialist today. Visit nutrius.ie for full product details.
Okay, and more feedback for our letter writer. Thank you very much. It's really appreciated. Just for those who didn't hear, she had to switch bank accounts, switched her account over to a bank, has had no money lodged into it yet. She's going to be putting her her social welfare payment into it, but there's a €6 monthly charge regardless of transactions. Now, for people who use the account a lot, that might work out well in the long run. I don't know. It's horses for courses. But anyway, she's €6 overdrawn already. Because no money has gone into the account yet. It takes a while to switch over the social welfare payment. But this caller says, in regard to the social welfare payment, there is no weekly charge if the lady transfers the payment into a credit union account. Now, I don't know what that means in terms of debit cards. Can you have a debit card yet with a credit union account? That might be an issue. To that lady getting the benefit, why not use the post money card? All the post office do these, and you can check your app for your balance. Also, you can tap and withdraw from any ATM machine. Okay, that's something worth looking at. Look, it's not a fait accompli. It's very easy to close an account. €6 a month is 72 euro. That's 2 big bags of coal. It's hard to believe it's only 2 big bags of coal, but that's not insignificant. So I would suggest maybe you close that account. And I know it's complicated, but I don't think it suits you. And as I say, 72 euro would be a decent, it's probably a weekly shop, depending how many are in the house. That money's better off in your pocket than in the banks, I would respectfully suggest. Tell that lady who's getting charged €6 by her bank. Most banks have no charges if you're over 66. Now, I'm not sure what the type of payment is, but that's interesting. Greg, Karen might find she's out more than €6 per month. I know if I ever went overdrawn in Ulster Bank, they then charge me for being overdrawn, plus your $12.50 in case you're overdrawn and a payment bounces. That's a thing. In regards being charged €6 for the social welfare, the post office's charges €5 monthly for the pension going into the account. I have a small pension coming in from England, and the maintenance charge is €5 each month. You see, this is why some people, and it's not for everyone, are going to the likes of Chase and Revolut, because there's no such charges with those type of accounts. Yeah, I'm not promoting any particular account, but, you know, people want to have access to a branch, and I don't know. It's hard to know what suits who. I want to complain about a cancel sign outside St. Joseph's Hospital, Stranraer. It's obstructing the main road from Ballabafay to Stranraer, and it's been there a week and is going to cause an accident. Okay, it's a council sign outside St. Joseph's Hospital, Stranraer. In Northern Ireland, if you test the car, you get a year, but here you might only get 3 or 4 months. It is based on the birth date of the car or when the last test was carried out. That's true, but also, if I'm not mistaken, in Northern Ireland, you can go to a garage and they can test the car. They're entrusted with that as well. So you can go to the garage and say, look, I'm looking to pass the it's not the NCT, the MOT, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think they can do the bits of work that's required, then they can okay it, and it's all done in one seamless sort of motion, which I would suggest saves the driver money, because maybe there's a bit of room to be had there in terms of the cost. Whereas here in the Republic, you either fix your car in advance and have great trust in your garage, and we've got some great garages, but you can still take your car and it can fail. Or you can do what was not suggested by Dave, but what was noted by Dave, where people will go and get the car tested to find out what's wrong and then fix it thereafter. A caller says, my car passed the test, but there was a pulling... I've read that one already. 2 coal springs gone. My car failed the test because the letters on the number plate were 10 millimetres too big. Not millilitres, that's liquid, isn't it? Millimetres too big. And I had to go and get new number plates and come back to them. I thought that was a bit of a money-making money. Imagine going to work and your job is to measure letters with a ruler. I bought a car from a family whose mother had died, and in order to tax the car, I had to go back to the family and get a solicitor's letter. It was awful. The woman died but had to prove this. And listen, anyone who's suffered a bereavement and you start getting letters through the post and closing accounts and bills for TV licenses and stuff, it causes an awful lot of upset. Okay. Right, we were talking earlier on about mental health services for young people, and we were speaking a couple of weeks ago to someone who works within the mental health services, and people are exiting. It's too difficult to work within. But also we were speaking about younger people and their access to mental health services. It's despicable what's going on because they are trying to do their best for the young people, but they're being made to feel like they're a nuisance and having to contend themselves with webinars and such. Well, Maria Walsh is Midlands Northwest MEP and joins us on the programme now. And it's a coincidence of scheduling, but it works very well given our earlier conversation, which, of course, Maria wasn't privy to. Maria, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks very much for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. Right, you're calling for a radical overhaul of the entire mental health system in Ireland. It needs to be chucked out. We need to start again, don't we?
Absolutely. I mean, there's some parts of the mental health services of all ages that work. But in listening to and hearing the call from CAMS, particularly Dr. Flannery in the last 24 hours, I mean, what he's saying is certain elements need that radical overhaul. We have best shared practices in various other sectors. I don't know why we haven't done that now. And it, for me, and I think we've spoken about it before, you can throw a lot of money at this, and a lot of money has been invested into mental health. But when you're not connecting the dots, when you're only looking at reactive care and not preventative measures, then we're going to have this conversation in 10 years' time. And considering UNICEF just last year reported ages of 10 to 19, so our adolescents across the European Union, there are 9 million young people suffering from mental health disorders and challenges. So when we're looking at the reactive measure, where they spend about 4% of the GDP, that's 600 billion across the EU, something is not adding up. And therefore, when we look at the 72-hour waiting list that young people have to wait to get seen, simply not good enough.
The people we're speaking to, and our focus was on, say, for instance, parents with children with autism, and in terms of getting supports, they're seeing their children deteriorate. They're seeing their children with suicidal thoughts. They're not being given any time frame. They're being pointed to webinars and such. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed by this. And as I say, they're so frustrated and they're heartbroken because they're seeing their children deteriorate in front of their very eyes. They're being told it's a lack of resources. But what does that mean? Because the money's washing around the system, okay? Are we hiring people, but they're not taking the jobs? Is the wages too low? What's going on? We can't get a handle on the problem to sort of try and fix it. But the money's there. Where's it going?
Yeah, from my perspective and the work that I do in the European Parliament, I fundamentally believe this needs to be treated across the European Union exactly how we treated COVID. That an EU mental health strategy, that our EU ministers work together, and that an EU dedicated fund comes. Because when we look at what works and what hasn't worked, we need that best practices. We need to tap into each other's talent pools, and we need the best leaders and experts in order to determine what we do to go forward. And again, this is not just about fixing tomorrow or the next day. This is about making sure in the next 10, 20, 30 years, we have supports in place that are adequate to meet the demands that people are needing now and have needed for many generations. For me, the legacy of mental health in this country, and exactly as you said, Greg, I as a public representative, I am embarrassed that we live in a country that has leading experts in various other fields, that have multinationals looking at our shores to invest in. And then we have younger people who are living in a world where we stigmatize mental health and then are continuing to ask everybody to mourn the loss of it. And then we're expecting, as you rightly pointed out, parents and communities to lift people who are not experts in their field. So from my perspective, to answer your question, I think we need to do exactly similar to what Dr. Flanagan shared yesterday on national radio, and tap into our talent pool that are currently studying, increase our rates of pay, making sure if we do have experts to join up the dots, and we do, that we're pulling them from various sectors, and that we're targeting preventative care so that a 72-hour wait limit is down to hours, not 72 hours.
Yeah, well, you know what happens now. You ring now, Doc, or you take someone who's vulnerable to the emergency department. There's no special resources or nothing. You're in there with a lot of sick people. People walk out, and I know people who've left the ED and are no longer with us because there's no system there. We rightly did everything we could. We moved heaven and earth to limit the amount of people that might die from COVID-19. A lot of it was blind. We didn't know what we were doing, but we did absolutely everything to prevent death. Yet in our communities, and I think sometimes the fact that it's not talked about publicly, we don't get very reliable figures. I'm not sure every death by suicide is recorded as such, and it's so personal. That's up to them, right? But we have people dying in great numbers in every corner of this county and beyond, Maria. Way more than died from COVID, and that is not to pitch one against the other. We could make international news. I know you want a European approach, but if we declared a mental health crisis here and did absolutely everything we can to do our best for everyone. We're not going to eliminate it, but we really could if we wanted to. If the will was there, we could. I almost got up out of this chair. I wanted to walk out of here after 10 o'clock, after the first hour of the programme, because it's so devastating what families are having to go through.
Absolutely. I mean, I can only agree with you. I think I truly believe, and I have seen families and communities and friends share the impact of a loss of a life, and then the burden of responsibility comes upon them, and that is simply not good enough. That's not good enough. It's not good enough for the life we've lost, and it's certainly not good enough for the people then who are then under mental health challenges to try and figure out how the hell they're meant to wake up in the morning and do something on behalf of mental health. I think we have, and similar to what was called on and what we've spoken about before, we would be lost without the volunteers of this country. We would have been lost without them in COVID. And we would be lost without them with mental health, because I think, unfortunately, when we lose a life in our community, you have family members who are setting up amazing organizations or events for their loved one, and rightly so. And then we have people taking on, as I said, that responsibility to help another, to upskill themselves, to know what to look out for and how to help. And that helps when you have an employer or teammates or a community that is aware of the different types of mental health issues and pressures. But it is simply not good enough when they're expected to go to A&E and pick up their loved one and bring them home and go on night watch. That is not good enough in 2022.
It's a very difficult conversation to have, because
absolutely.
We also have to be conscious of the fact that there could be a triggering element to this, and I understand that. And we also implore anyone who is affected by this to ring the services that are there. But we also have to recognise, okay, that you have to speak to someone, and you are setting a path, and hopefully there's immediate intervention if required. But we're asking people to make phone calls, but we have to recognise that the supports aren't there where they should be. It's a horror, because how do you discuss it without if the thought that I could in any way damage someone in having this conversation is very upsetting. But we have to also talk to the fact that people do reach out for help, and then it's not there. The immediate intervention is there, and hopefully that's it. But to get them back to where they can be, they're passed around the place. There's no, maybe they're prescribed drugs, or something, and that problem go away that way or whatever. We just really, really need to sort of stop talking about it and doing stuff, Maria.
I mean, from my understanding and in speaking with experts over the last couple of years, we have mental well-being, mental health, and mental ill health. And at any point of a day or a week or a month, we can transition ourselves, me and you, into any one of them. The mental ill health works with their GP or an expert, but we have great services like Jigsaw, and there's a brilliant organisation there in Letterkenny, and working with younger people. But we also have more and more younger people going to university and tapping into ATU there in Letterkenny, and we need to make sure we have supports there so that when they do experience something of a transition period, bad breakup, difficult paper, issues at home, financial pressures, that they have a longevity to that preventative measure and not just reaction. We also have Pieta House does fantastic work, but I think we have a small pool, unfortunately, right now of experts, and we're pulling on so many of them in terms of being qualified, and we need to do.
But we have to make sure that the service is correct service when someone picks up that phone. That services that they expect to get help from doesn't end up being a signposting service, because they might have one phone call in them.
Yes, no, I agree.
And also we have to make sure, when you talk of students, that what we do, and when I say we, I mean we as a country, does not exacerbate their poor mental health, i.e. them not being able to go to college because they can't get accommodation or whatever. Now, I'm not trying to throw everything into the one pot here, but
there is everything into one pot.
Yeah, you talk of some of the triggers, right? Can you imagine, being all set to go, but you can't get a room, or your family can't afford it, or, all that. So I mean, you're a member of your government. The party you're a member of is in government here, Maria. You've got access that I don't have and that other people don't have. I mean, what are the ministers with responsibility saying to you when you implore them? And I know you would do so with passion and as a person, not simply as an elected representative. What are they saying to you? Tell us what reaction you get.
I mean, in speaking with ministers and speaking with EU officials too, because within that capacity, I do believe an EU mental health strategy and a directive, and something that I'm calling for an EU year dedicated to mental health, that we see funding and we see awareness. And actually, to your point, we really start that European or international, if you'd like, call that everyone has mental health. And therefore, we all have to understand the implications of it. From speaking with governmental colleagues, I'm certainly putting pressure on our own Fine Gael representatives and have been coming up to this budget in particular. When you compare ourselves to Sweden or Germany or France, Germany has a just under 12% spend on mental health alone. France just over on the 15%. So there's no reason why. Two big member states, but there's no reason why by population we should be lagging at the percentage we're doing way down the list.
Yeah.
And I mean, from their perspective, they are trying to connect the dots, and I gotta give them some kudos. They're trying to connect it, but it is simply not fast enough. And we're not looking at it exactly are we doing as our climate crisis or our COVID, particularly our COVID pandemic, with the urgency and the emergency that we are losing thousands of people across the island of Ireland due to mental health. And then we're having an exacerbated challenge because community members, what we spoke about just now, are feeling the impact and then are trying to fix it. Yeah. And this is the messages that I'm imploring to our all party governmental colleagues. We have a very good minister in mental health, but I certainly would like to see a senior minister in this role. And a specific department that is only looking at the preventative measures that support us. So leaning into what Dr. Flannery said, and he has expertise in this field, that we're tapping into those that are already in college, we're increasing rates, we're looking at expertise, and that we're not having this conversation in a year's time when we're looking at another budget and saying, well, we can only afford less than 6%. That is simply.
But I mean, even if we were serious about this, the budget could reflect the support for people in the community that you talk of, the volunteers, carers, for example. That would be easy done. I just worry, Maria, that if this was more tangible, if this was something whereby we could put definitive figures on, and maybe even there was a protest or something, it would be addressed. It would be addressed with the urgency that we've seen other crises addressed with. But I just think because it's easy to ignore. And I know you have to give kudos to certain ministers and all that type of stuff. But whatever the ministers are doing, however well intentioned it is, we're going backwards. We're not going forwards. So they're wasting their time.
I agree with you. And this is where, again, from a European perspective, but I got into politics and many reasons because I lost too many in my community for mental health. So for me, I don't mind calling out the fact that actually it needs to happen, that we're being realistic. And to your point, that if we really understood as public reps, the numbers we are losing and will continue to lose if we don't treat this as exactly what it is, an outcry, a pandemic. It is a silent pandemic. And therefore, all budget, all policy needs to reflect the urgency of ending that pandemic.
And the amount of people it affects, the lives lost, the opportunities that gone, but also to coming across mums, who they're at the period of their life where they should be happy, and they've got the news of a son or daughter, and their lives are devastated. They've probably got still 20, 30 years of good physical health, but they've been predeceased by a child, avoidable in many cases, and it's just absolutely horrendous that their lives are changed eternally.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just one group. Then it's the people themselves that feel so desperate, and we see it unfortunately we see it with the physical health side of things as well.
And then,
I know too many stories.
And then, Greg, to add in, and I think they also deserve light and certainly comment and gratitude in this conversation we're having is those that are working in the mental health services now, who are working, no doubt, around the clock to make sure every little bit of resource is given to those that are coming in, that are making that phone call, and who are trying to hold two pieces of string together to the next day and hope that a budget or the speed of which this is needed happens.
I'm not sure if brave's the right word. I think it's refreshing and direct to compare this directly to our response to COVID. I'm not sure how popular it is or what the reaction to that is, but I think it is the perfect example of what we need to do and how we need to approach this, because we saw the buy-in from the majority of the general population. I can only imagine that we'd be even more united on tackling something that affects us all. Maria Walsh, unless there's anything you wish to add, thanks very much for your time this morning.
Well, what you shared earlier, if there is people out there that are triggered or wants to learn more about mental health, there is resources. Please know, if you are listening to this, that you are wanted on this earth, and be safe and be well, and know from myself and yourself, if you don't mind me including, that every bit of conversation and push that can happen to make sure, again, as I shared, we cannot continue to stigmatize mental health and then more in the loss of it.
And also, just it's important to people know to speak to someone, because I've personal experience of this through my job, where one message, hello, someone, that was enough to start a process that a few people got better from, or got into a better space from. So that's why it's so important just to vocalize it, verbalize it, write it down, because there are people that will help. Okay, listen, Maria, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Take care of yourself. All right, thanks so much. Maria Walsh, Midlands Northwest MEP.
The 9 till noon show in association with the Northwest Truck Fest this Saturday and Sunday at Milford Mart, with live music, family fun, a truck convoy and much more.
Gear up for the club championship at Michael Murphy Sports and Leisure, where you'll find all the essentials to carry you through the season. Shop the full range of O'Neill's Morn shorts, socks and Sassoon mouthguards, and get the new Michael Murphy Ghost gloves with enhanced grip from just €15. Shop in-store or get free next day nationwide delivery when you spend €85 online at michaelmurphysports.ie.
Are you frequently asking others to speak slowly, clearly and loudly? Is listening to the TV or radio becoming harder? If your hearing is affecting your everyday life, Connect Hearing are here to help. Our clinics in Letterkenny and Dunloe are open Monday to Friday, where you can avail of our hearing test, wax removal and repair services. Take that first step to better hearing. Call us today on 07491 13296. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Hello from Team Hope. We're the people behind the annual Christmas shoebox appeal. We know you don't usually hear from us at this time of year, but we wanted a quick word with all the teachers as thoughts turn to the new term. We want to say thanks. Thanks for looking out for our kids, for inspiring them, encouraging them, and being one of the important connections in their lives. Thanks for making a difference to the children who receive the shoeboxes too. Thanks to everyone that helped Team Hope to make children smile.
It's the Northwest Truck Fest at Milford Mart this Saturday and Sunday. Highlights include truck lights display on Saturday at 9, and on Sunday afternoon it's a convoy of trucks through Milford at 5. This ad is sponsored by Brown's Cars Milford, main Suzuki dealer.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. 08660 25000 is the WhatsApp and text number, 08660 25000, or give us a call on 074 91 25000, 074 91 25000. Right, okay. Just to give you some numbers here, it's a difficult programme today. It's been a bit heavy, and I understand that. And just to give you some telephone numbers here for those of you who might need them. Aware can be contacted on 1800 80 48 48. That is Aware. You can also call Pieta House on 1800 247 247. and Samaritans are there for you as well on 116123. And you can also visit Your Mental Health, yourmentalhealth.ie, or 1-800 111 888. So you know our number. If you need any of our numbers, get in touch with us. And also, too, really, it is important that if you're feeling down or sad or whatever, or what we've been talking about makes you feel bad or worse, that you call those numbers, because there's amazing people. You don't know them as such, but they're in the community to help, because we are good. We come together when we need to, and we will on issues like that. I'm trying to take one more quick break rather than just completely switch from one subject to another. This next topic is important as schools are set to reopen. That's coming up for you in just under 2 minutes. Stay where you are.
The 9 till Noon Show, brought to you by the Northwest Truck Fest, taking place this Saturday and Sunday in the grounds of Milford Mart, with proceeds to Ellie's Wish to Walk and MS Ireland Donegal branch.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
For a Portaloo for any event, contact the exclusive stockists in Donegal. Gortley Sales and Hire. Long-term and short-term quotes available for parties, festivals, weddings or any event across the county. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126 276.
Are you one of Donegal's next female entrepreneurs? Ambition is a pre-accelerator programme run by Local Enterprise Office Donegal. Ambition focuses on early-stage female entrepreneurs, promoting the skills and resilience needed to develop globally scalable ventures, attract investment and create jobs. Ambition is open to female founders, entrepreneurs or those with a strong startup idea with potential to be globally scalable who have links to Donegal. Apply before the September the 7th deadline at localenterprise.ie/Donegal.
Century Complex Letterkenny are holding a charity fun day in aid of Donegal Hospice and Letterkenny Food Bank on Wednesday the 24th of August. Check out centurycinemas.ie and Century Cinemas social media pages for more information on how you can help support these charities while having lots of fun on Wednesday the 24th of August.
It's the Northwest Truck Fest at Milford Mart this Saturday and Sunday, with trucks from all over Ireland. Also bric-a-brac and home baking stalls, plus live music. Proceeds to Ellie's Wish to Walk and MS Ireland Donegal branch. This ad is sponsored by Donegal Oil.
Okay, I think we've all had to come to terms with the fact that schools are back, many reopening next week. And what's going to happen is our roads are going to change. We're going to see school buses that we didn't see before. You know, it's been 2 to 3 months since we've been at it. Young people out on the roads getting to and from school. We've had really long days, of course, so we'll start seeing some changes in terms of darkness in the morning or darkness at night. And as I say, you know, we've got out of the habit. So let's refresh ourselves as to what we need to keep our eyes open for and our ears open for, our awareness as clear as it can be. Sam Wade is Chief Executive of the Road Safety Authority. Good morning to you, Sam.
Good morning.
Right, okay. So, firstly, the basics, I suppose. They are the basics, and you know, if we start there, we'll be doing well. We're going to see more traffic, different type of traffic on the road over the next while again.
Yes, and what we've launched today with Minister Naughton, the Back to School campaign, and Assistant Commissioner Hillman and Garda Síochána, and it is not just a reminder to all road users. You're right; it's actually the roads are getting busier again post-COVID, but it is that time of year, back to school, and it's really to remind all road users to be respectful of children and traffic wardens, children trying to get to school in the morning, and also when they're being picked up in the afternoon getting home. Two things that has changed really from our perspective. There's more children walking and cycling to school, which is a good thing for active travel and health and well-being. But road users need to be mindful of that and need to be respectful of giving children and traffic wardens the time and space, and particularly giving way to the traffic wardens when the children are crossing the road outside the school gates.
Yeah, and no motorist wants to be involved in a collision with a young person. I don't think there's anyone listening. It'd probably be some of the worst nightmares of most. We avoid that by, making sure that we do everything to avoid it.
Yes, I would ask, and it's not just motorists, it's van drivers, lorry drivers, cyclists, other people who are using different forms of mobility to slow down, coming to schools, and what one of our actions is within the government road safety strategy is to implement more speed limits and variable speed limits, particularly outside schools, not just in urban areas, but also in
I'd just
rural
like to say
areas.
a point on that, Sam, and I've been banging on about this for a number of years. For some reason, throughout the summer, the variable speed limits were still coming on while schools were closed. There might be different views on this, but all I see is motorists flying past because they know schools are closed. They may not be aware when schools are reopened again. I just don't understand why we don't switch off the variable speed limits so that they have the impact when we need them, when schools are off all summer or all Halloween or over Christmas.
And that's a good point that RSA with the TAI organisations along with local councils, and that's there is we're always improving things, and where there's the opportunity to enhance, particularly outside schools. But you make a good point that the importance is for all road users to be aware of the school terms, and within the next week, schools are getting back, not just the junior and national primary schools, but also the secondary schools. So this is like school children of all ages,
Right.
and it's for everyone to be mindful of the movement of traffic, of that additional risk after the summer break.
Right, there's a carrot and stick approach here. Let's get to the stick now, because there are increased penalties for failing to stop at a school warden sign. They've been doubled, the fines.
Yeah, and this is the Minister announced doubling of fines, not just for people disrespecting the traffic wardens, the school wardens, but this is something that the RSA, we welcome that announcement, and it is an enforcement measure, and it's a timely reminder of the enforcement measure, because we want our schools and we want our kids to go to school in a safe manner and get home in a safe manner so that we could educate them, but equip them for the future in regard to road safety. And they can then they can bring that with them. This is a lifelong learning experience, and RSA, one of the positive actions we've part of the Back to School campaign, the RSA, we've launched the virtual online learning portal, and that's a tremendous resource for principals and teachers and school kids to have access to.
Yeah, and children are like sponges, and they want to please. So we have to make sure that they see this information, that this portal that you talk of it's for the general population to access.
So initially, we're for principals and teachers who wish to avail of these resources, RSA will continue a blended approach. RSA have done and will continue to go into schools physically, but principals and teachers can have access to these learning modules along with the school kids.
Can we access
and
them?
we will conduct active virtual sessions.
Sam, can the general public access them, these portals?
So at this moment, we've obviously developed the software and the learning resource. At this moment, the initial stage is actually sharing the materials with teachers and school kids.
So if we want to educate our children before they go back to school, you're talking about warning us they're opening next week. You're telling me that if we want to try and educate our children before they go back to school, that parents and guardians can't access these tools to try and make our children as safe as possible?
This is an additional innovative measure. RSA, as has in Garda Síochána, we've previously and have continued to go into schools and share the road safety message with school children of all ages. This is an additional measure which we can scale up the dissemination of that knowledge, and the kids will have access to these materials Previously, RSA, we went into schools and shared that information knowledge, but the kids now will have access to this insight and knowledge, and from an education point of view, will have access to it on their iPads when they go home after these sessions and access either iPad or their smartphone. So it'll be resource that they'll have ongoing access to.
So what information then, in terms of this road safety message, is available for parents on the RSA website?
So the information initially, as I said, is available to teachers and the kids.
On there at the moment. Okay.
But yes, and this is where we will be launching the portal, and this will be in addition to previous in classroom training sessions.
Do you have any tools on the RSA website at the moment now for parents to go and access to work with their children on?
There is a considerable amount of educational resource that's available to the general public, not just parents, and that's in the rules of the road in terms of.
Where's that on the RSA website? Hello, Sam?
Right.
Sorry, is that available on the RSA website, Sam?
Yes, it is.
Okay, right. So people can search that out. And this is not part of the curriculum. This is up to schools whether or not they access this portal. Would you be encouraging schools to ensure that they do?
I would encourage all schools to avail of the resource. You're correct in saying it's not compulsory or a mandatory part of the education curriculum. And this is an area which RSA and myself, we've looked at other countries and what other countries do in this space, and some of the leaders in road safety. It is actually part of the national curriculum. An example of that is Norway, where Norway is one of the safest countries in Western Europe, and they actually these materials, this resource, is part of their national curriculum from kindergarten age upwards. So that's an area that is I'm interested, RSA are interested in exploring with our co-workers and colleagues, not just in transport, but in the education department also.
Brilliant. All right, and we also have to make sure the TII and local authorities that then when they're building new roads around schools, that they ensure they have cycle paths and safe walking spaces for children, I presume, as well.
Yeah, no, there is. Previously, Minister Naughton and Minister Ryan announced additional investment in cycling infrastructure. And that's going back to the actions in the road safety strategy. There is focus on speed limits also, particularly outside schools, not just in urban areas, but in rural areas also.
Sam, listen, thanks for your time and for the work that you do. We appreciate it, okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care, Sam. Sam Way, Chief Executive of the Road Safety Authority. Back with you tomorrow morning at 9. Have a great day. Stay tuned. John Breslin's on his way.
It's the Northwest Truck Fest.